All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get ready to start and call the meeting to order at 7:05. Welcome stakeholders and board members. My name is Lorenzo Briseño. I'm from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and I'll be presiding over the first two agenda items until we get to the election of the board president, and I'll be seating
Agendas, just
the
comment.
new board.
There's comment cards on the table.
He was looking for an agenda.
Well, we don't have any.
We do not. Sorry, we do not
The
have.
printer wasn't working.
I have one here for public display. If you would like to go ahead and draw.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
You're welcome. Alrighty, at this time, as I said, we're calling the meeting to order. We can have a roll call of the board, please.
Good. Layden? No. Clements?
Here.
Cutler? Here. Gatsionis? Here. Correct?
Yeah.
Pretty good, all right. Hardwick?
Here.
Mandel?
Present.
Meehan?
Here.
Niederberg?
Here.
Rittenberg?
Here.
Shaw? Here. Slaughter?
Here.
10-0. You have a quorum.
Awesome. Okay, and at this time, we'll now do the seating of the new board. If I can have all board members please stand and raise your right hand. Alrighty, and if you could just repeat after me, please. I pledge to represent my neighborhood with dignity, integrity, and pride.
Pledge to represent my neighborhood with integrity and pride.
I will encourage other points of view, even when they differ from my own.
I will encourage other points of view, even when they differ from my own.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion.
I will find the good in my neighborhood, and I will praise it and promote it.
I will find the good in my neighborhood, and I will praise it and promote it.
To my neighbors and to neighbors throughout the city of Los Angeles, I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
To my neighbors and neighbors throughout the city of Los Angeles, I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, board members, you've been installed, and I do have your own certificates here. True.
Thank you.
And Chip. Thank you. Come this way for Richard.
Shouldn't we get like a sash or something?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sweet.
Righty.
Oh, look, it's nice. Richard, it's good.
Something we didn't get when we were
Dan and
remote.
I never got one. We've progressed.
I'm impressed. It's so pretty.
But you said you don't.
No, they never did.
Alrighty, at this time, we'll now proceed to agenda item number 2, the election of the board president. Is there a motion to open this item?
I nominate Scott Mandel as president.
Second?
Second. All right, are there,
Who was the second? There were like 4.
Chip.
Thank you.
I have to accept, right?
Correct.
I accept.
set? Alrighty, are there any other nominations or self-nominations for this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to public comment on this agenda item. We have, for public comment, not Go Puppet Son, for public comment 2 minutes on this agenda item.
You're running for president. My question is, what are you gonna do for me? That's what I'm asking. You talked about better food. I asked about the oysters, which you did bring me, and also the truffles. But there's the caviar, and you've not fulfilled that yet. You gotta think of my needs. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? Gentleman, your shirt?
I've been around here for about 10 years at these meetings, and is this working? But it looks good, I hope. I have to say that Scott, well, first I'm going to preface this with, I like to embarrass Scott. He can't take praise. So anyway, he's the best president I've seen in the 10 years that we've been around. He's always all over the neighborhood, riding his bike everywhere. He knows everything that's going on, so you all got to vote for him. That's it.
Thank you for your public comment. Any other public comment on this agenda item? Yes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Abby Velasco, and last term I served as part of the board, was a board member, and I had the pleasure of working with Scott. He was, throughout our term, he was very supportive in not just the motions and listening to the voices of the community, but also when it came to a community events, he was always there and he was very supportive. So for that, I thank Scott for all his efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? Okay, seeing no public comment, this agenda item is now closed for public comment. Scott, you've accepted the nomination. Would you like to speak a few words, or would you like to just get to the vote?
I think we can just get to the vote. But thank the public for those kind words, and Peter's absolutely right.
Well, thank you so much for that, Scott. If we can have a roll call vote.
Lemon,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Gap, Sionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
10-0. Motion passes.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Now proceed over the meeting.
Did I change my mind?
Thank you. Is this working now? Yes. Thank you, board, and thank you, public, for having confidence in me and all those kind words. We're going to move on to the election. Let me just move over here. Item 3, election of officers and SCNC representatives, possible committee chair announcements. So just as we did before, the next item, 3A, is for vice president. So we will now have any nominations for vice president. Adele?
I nominate Chip Meehan. Second.
Chip, you accept?
I accept, thank you.
Any other nominations for vice president, self-nominations, nominations of others? Not seeing any. Public comment, 3A, Chip Meehan for vice president, come on up.
Just in support of Chip. I think he brings a level head to sometimes very hot situations, and I think it's an amazing choice.
Oh, my name?
Sure, come on up.
Chip, the problem with you is if you go to Van Nuys Neighborhood Council, where I'm from, you gotta be dishonest. You gotta be a loser. And also, we have in Van Nuys, we have Marxist, socialists, and whackballs over there. So you need to start spreading that type of joy, making sure everything doesn't get done, and everything is always almost. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anybody else care to make public comment on the item we're discussing? 3A, Chip for vice president. Public comment is closed. Board, any comments? Chip, you have anything to say?
Can I have the first slide, please? No comments, thank you. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
I think Chip is great being heartbeat away from the presidency, and I trust him fully, although I am looking for a food taster. I think we can go to vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Gap, Sionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
10-0. Motion passes.
Thank you. 3B, same for treasurer. Any nominations for treasurer?
Kim Clements.
Second.
Second from Adele. Kim, you accept?
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Any other self-nominations or nominations for the position of treasurer?
Anybody else want that glorious position? Yeah.
Public comment, 3B, Kim for treasurer. Anyone want to speak? Abby?
Hello. So I completely support Kim's nomination. I think she's awesome. She's great at paperwork. One of my, I guess, peeves with working with professionals is when I send emails and I don't hear from them at all. We all get those emails once in a while, or send those emails with Kim. As soon as I hit that button, I already know she's gonna respond to me. Well, I would hope like within 48 hours, but she pretty much responds immediately. And she gets to it in the middle of the night. Sometimes we've been on chatting, emailing between midnight and 7 o'clock in the morning. So she is very, I forgot the word already, responsible. There you go, very responsible, so congratulations.
Thank you, Abby.
Not Goat Puppet Son, you have a comment?
You've been very good in the past, I thank you, you always try your best, not like Van Nuys where they do almost. All I'm gonna ask you to do, so you don't ever, and you've never had to deal with me on it, is when someone does an MPG, go on the Secretary of State's website to make sure they're currently not suspended, their corporation. Also go to the IRS website to make sure that their 501c3 that was given 25 years ago wasn't withdrawn. Also, if you wanna get nerdy like I do, pull up the 990 and see where their money really goes. See if they're renting out their closet for $15,000 or something like that. And Van Nuys, they allow that because there's a bunch of Marxists and socialists over there, and pretty terrible people. You have to be moral. Doesn't matter if it's legal. And then the way I stop that is I just write a little nastygram to the city clerk's office where they don't fund it. So I let them waste their time. So just try your best. If you need resources, there are people that'll be glad to give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Not seeing any. Kim, you have anything else to say, and then we'll go to the board?
No, I appreciate your input very much. And thank you, Abby.
Any board comment, or we're ready to vote? Let's vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Harding,
Oh, yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yes.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
and Slaughter.
Yes, and you forgot one.
Skip Dimitri.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gatsionis.
Yes.
Okay. And yes?
Yes.
10-0-0. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Continuing along to 3C, corresponding secretary. Who would like to be corresponding secretary? Nomination, self-nomination?
Jeff Hartwick.
Second.
Jeff, you accept?
I accept.
Public comment on corresponding secretary, Jeff? Oh, I'm sorry, any others? No others? Public comment on Jeff Hartwick? Barry?
Jeff's been wonderful the last 2 years for getting out all our CISs and communications to other electeds. And for the 5 years prior to that, it was very hit and miss, and now there's no misses, so I'm glad he's our sole nominee.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public have a comment on? Not Goat Puppet Son, go ahead.
I hope you know about the new Public Records Act request laws that came through, that got rerouted and everything. If you need to know what it is, or if you have a copy of it, you go to the legislative website, or you can go to vnnc.info, and you can pull it from there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else from the public? Not seeing any. Jeff, anything to say before we have the board?
Nothing for me except thank you, Barry, for your kind words, and not Go Puppet Son for your suggestions. Thank you.
Board comments? Let's vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Gatsionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes.
Niederberg,
Yes.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
10-0-0. Motion passes.
Thank you. On to D, secretary. Anybody? Those
I'll
are,
nominate Adele. Interested?
I'll second that.
Adele, you accept?
Just remind me what the responsibilities are?
You're the
Let's see.
custodian of the records. You keep track of the training. You take care of the minutes. You Do I have to get to Robert's Rules of Order to read all that? The secretary take accurate written minutes of all board meetings, which include start time, attendance, actions of the board, unless we're hiring someone. Take attendance, including excused and unexcused absences, and notify the president of absences requiring removal considerations, and note late arrivals and early departures. Notify the president when quorum has been reached. Provide speaker cards. Provide agendas at board meetings. Provide a copy of all the rules if needed during board meetings. Custodian of the minutes and other board documents and records, including up-to-date contact information for board members. Be responsible for timely issuance and posting of all board notices in accordance with the Brown Act. Prepare meeting minutes to file at the following board meeting and post approved minutes on the website within 30 days. Maintain current proof of code of conduct and ethics from board members and advise the board on non-current members. Keep the record of the volunteer hours of board members submitted by committee chairs, and perform such other duties as the board may direct from time to time. Sounds like a lot.
I don't know if you want me.
Does anybody else want to
Anybody else want it?
They believe in you if they move to.
speak up if anybody's agreeing with
Any
this?
other self-nominations or nominations? I mean, a new board member can do it too.
I think
She could do it until you fill the other spots too.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
All right.
I accept.
Who seconded?
I second Chip.
Chip did.
You seconded it, right? Public comment on Adele for secretary, not goat puppets on.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, Mr. President, and it's a very special nomination. Since Ms. Rittenberg is counsel, and I have great faith in her. What? You're inactive. I'm gonna suggest if Ms. Slaughter is approved, that Ms. Rittenberg would consider being a assistant deputy to the secretary to assist her, just to make sure things flow a little bit better, because unfortunately, if she's secretary, you have to deal with that bureaucratic mess. You have to deal with certain type of gadflies that litigate, that are attorneys. And just one thing after another, which will hurt everybody. But if she tries her best and has that support, that would probably be a nice thing. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else from the public care to comment? Abby?
Why don't you just
Just sit up here.
I could just say, Adele, don't be afraid. It's not as bad as it sounds. Brandon did it when he was new, and then I hop on, and we were new. I particularly didn't know anything about, I didn't really know what I was doing. I learned as I was going, and I'm sure you're just gonna do well. And if I may, I still have everything, and I printed out the agenda with yeses and nos. So I think I gave it to Jeff, give it transition to you, and you can just practice today. And if I can transfer the files to you so that the transition is smooth, why reinvent the wheel? So it'll be an easy transition for you.
Thanks, Abby.
Okay, but you
Thanks,
do well.
Abby. That's great.
That's all.
Thank you for that. Anyone else from the public? Adele, anything more you'd like to say?
I'll do what I can.
Board comments?
There's your first assignment.
Let's vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Gatsios,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
No, just kidding.
10-0-0, the motion passes.
Fantastic. That's it for our officers. Now we're on to 3E, the Studio City Neighborhood Council rep and a possible alternate for the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. And I'm going to nominate Susan Shalby. She's right there. I actually don't think we need to even vote on this.
Last name?
Shalby.
SCHALBD.
This would be a representative position, at the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, and she would be attending those meetings and reporting back to us as to what's going on. For those who don't know what Susan does, she's always out on the Zeb Trail or at Franklin Lakes or somewhere with her camera and her magnifying glass documenting species and plants, and she writes great reports. And she's very active in the Sustainability Committee, and I think she would be great for this position and represent the Studio City Neighborhood Council and report back to us. Susan, if you'd like to say something.
Go second first.
Oh, do we have a second?
Second.
Sorry about that. I believe I can just appoint that person, but we'll just go through the vote.
Well, thanks for your kind words, Scott. I'm happy to help in any way that I can, and I think pretty much everything you said is true.
Thank you. Do we have public comment on this item? Yes, goat. Not goat son.
I didn't say anything.
I thought this was for everything.
You are correct, sir.
Okay.
No comment.
Not seeing any more hands from the public. Board? Comments, questions? Let's vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Galtzionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yes.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
10-0-0, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Can we make an alternate? Can we suggest an alternate?
If you want, I don't know of any suitable alternates at this time. So if you want to nominate someone.
I would like to nominate Melanie Winter. She has been the representative for the last 15 years.
Is there a second on that?
Second. I'll second.
Okay.
It's an alternate she's asking for. It's not bad to have.
Melanie, do you have a comment on that? You want to say something?
I'm happy to continue to do what I've been doing since the Sustainability Alliance began. Yeah, I have a lot of relationships there and have helped get that entity going, and so I'm happy to serve an alternate now.
Is there any other public comment on this item? Can we go now to the board? Does anyone from the board have a? Oh, great. You already did?
No,
Oh.
go do it. After.
Are there any board comments or questions about this for the alternate? I actually would like to make a comment. The reason why I wasn't ready to nominate an alternate is because the alternate that's nominated now was the rep for the last 2 years. We have not heard one report. I didn't even know there was a representative at this Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. There have been numerous issues that this board and committees have been dealing with that were brought up at the Sustainability Council Alliance that we were completely unaware of, which is why I wanted, when I found out about this, I wanted to nominate and appoint somebody new. I don't think we serve ourselves by having someone, having Melanie as an alternate, because she didn't fulfill, in my opinion, her duties when she was there. Dealing with leaf blowers, dealing with toolkit for sustainability issues as far as developers go, and other major issues that we worked very hard on, not having the information from this Sustainability Alliance. So I think we should leave the alternate position open, and maybe after a meeting or two, or maybe somebody new would like to attend a few meetings to see if that's something they're interested in. But we've already had public comment.
I would like to be given the opportunity to respond because you've made some interesting comments that are not necessarily accurate.
Well, we're not going to be debating it. That's my position, and we're not going back, so, sorry.
And what's the last name, I'm sorry?
The way
I
you
didn't get the last
characterize it
name.
is inaccurate, so, but it's your prerogative. It's your prerogative. If anybody is
What's
interested
the
in a
last name?
different
I'm sorry. I
perspective
didn't
on
hear the
that, I'm
last
happy
Her name?
to chat.
Yep,
Melanie Winter.
got it.
Okay, so
Cool.
The nominee is left.
I was just gonna say that so a couple of things. She has been doing it for 15 years, and to her, maybe not credit, but she didn't know that anyone cared and has been somewhat marginalized by the previous president. So I think I think she does a lot, and she has really good relationships, because I called, Charles Miller is the head president of it, and there are other people that have really good relationships with her. So I thought, as an alternate, maybe she would be helpful to Susan, learning the ropes. And, Susan is more gonna do all the reporting back, and I just thought it would be a way to keep a balance here. That was why I suggested it. But
We can't
at
go
this
back to
point,
public comment.
let me just,
Yeah.
at this point, because of her behavior, it makes it very hard to, support her. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah.
Well, I'll ask any of the board members, the returning board members up here, have you ever heard anything about this Sustainability Alliance that I mentioned in email or in a report to us since your term on the board?
No.
No. No.
Okay.
Take a vote.
Let's vote.
All right, just to let you know, Jen Bladen joined the meeting at 7:27.
Excuse me, point of order. She wasn't
Sworn in.
sworn in. I don't think she can vote.
Correct.
Well, she joined the meeting, though. Yeah,
He's just saying she joined the meeting. After this, Lorenzo's gonna swear her in, and then she'll.
Oh, he's
get
here?
more.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so she's ineligible at the moment?
Yes.
So I know, okay.
So we're voting on Melanie as the alternate, and Melanie has left the
Okay.
meeting.
Clemens,
No.
Cutler,
No.
okay, Gatsionis,
No.
Hardwick,
No.
Mandel,
No.
Ehan,
No.
Niederberg,
No.
Rittenberg,
No.
Shaw,
No.
Slide,
No.
unanimous.
Thank you. Moving on to 3F. President may announce committee chairs at this time. I'm going to announce some of the committee chairs, not all, so we can hit the ground running and get right to business and have committee meetings, or at least have the committee chairs start. Go ahead, yes.
Would you get her sworn in
Oh, she's.
before you move on?
Yes.
Have
So
Lorenzo
we
swear.
forget.
You want to swear her in right now? Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Then,
Yeah, let's get it over with. Lorenzo, give her the whole thing just in one sentence and see.
All right, Jen, if I can have you please stand and raise your right hand.
Yes,
And if you could just repeat after me.
absolutely.
I, Jim Bladen, pledge to represent my neighborhood with dignity, integrity, and pride.
I, Jen Bladen, pledge to represent my neighborhood with dignity, integrity, and pride.
I will encourage other points of view, even when they differ from my own.
I will encourage other points of view even when they differ from my own.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinions.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion.
I will find the good in my neighborhood and praise it and promote it.
I will absolutely find the good in my neighborhood and praise it and promote it.
To my neighbors and to neighbors throughout the city of Los Angeles, I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
To my neighbors and to my neighbors throughout Los Angeles, I pledge to do what you just said to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. You've been a solid
Thank
man.
you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry.
thank you, Lorenzo. Okay, we're on to President may announce committee chairs at this time. So as I was saying, I'd like to get some of the committees formed. I'd like to get them all formed as soon as possible so the committee chairs can appoint the committee members and we can get down to business and start having meetings and getting work done and getting our motions. So this doesn't work. This is not nominated. This is not voted on. This is one of the powers of the president. So I'm just going to rattle off who I'm appointing tonight, and then the other committees will still remain open. So I'll list all the committees as well. So land use currently is open. We do not have a committee chair. If you're interested, there'll be information on our website on how to contact me if you'd like to be a committee chair. For ones that we have chairs, the chair's name will be on the website, and you can contact the chair if you want to join the committee. Transportation will be Barry Johnson, who'll continue in that committee. Government Affairs, Barry Johnson. Public Safety, Jeff Hartwick. Bylaws and Procedures, Jeff Hartwick. Outreach is open. Anyone who would like to be the outreach chair. And a chair can be a board member or a stakeholder. This is all going to be posted on the agenda, so you don't have to make notes. It'll be there, on the website. It'll be for everybody. Cultural Affairs, Abby Velasco. The Budget Committee Chair, I'm waiting to hear back 100%.
I'll do it for the moment. I'll see if
Kim
Barry Weiss
Clements
is
will be the Budget Committee Chair. We'll need some committee members for there. Homelessness, anyone who wants to be Homelessness Committee Chair, contact me. Sustainability will be Adele Slaughter. I'm also going to announce some ad hoc committees right now. We're going to have an ad hoc committee for the Harvard Westlake River Park project, and the chair will be Chip Meehan. We're going to have an ad hoc committee for the Burbank Airport airplane noise and pollution, and that will be Lori Rittenberg. We're going to have an ad hoc committee for the Radford Studio Center. Whoever's interested in chairing that, contact me.
For the what is it? What?
The Radford Studio Center, the construction and expansion of this place. We'll need a chair, and I don't know about the residents as sportsmen yet. We're gonna table that and see what happens at the City Planning Commission, if that's going to be an ongoing concern. So for the committee chairs that I've appointed, I encourage all of them to appoint a vice chair. A vice chair is not a co-chair. It's a sort of a backup chair who can run the meeting when the chair isn't there, who can start learning how to be a committee chair and learning the process. So I think it's very important that every committee have a vice chair. So we have a new supply of committee chairs to come up in the future. And this is a reminder that each and every board member must serve on at least one committee. And please don't pick budget or bylaws as your one committee only because they meet so infrequently. We've had past board members that just clamor to be on budget and or bylaws. Not that they aren't important committees, they're very important committees, but because of the nature of the work, they sometimes don't meet until 4 months apart, 3 months, 4 months. And that satisfies the committee requirement of the slackers. And I trust that we're not composed of that many slackers this time.
Scott.
Yes, Richard?
I didn't say anything
Oh.
yet.
I thought you had your hand up. I didn't. Chip thought you had your hand up and I was ignoring you. So again, to the rest of the board and the members of the public, the website's going to be updated. There'll be an email blast with everybody's name who's a committee chair, and I'll set up an email address of how people can apply to be chair for the open seats and to be a committee member. Yes?
Chair of the land use chair?
Pardon?
I'd like to ask for the land use chair.
Okay, I'm not going to pick land use chair tonight, but just,
I'd like to throw my hat in.
okay, we'll talk.
And I'd like to discuss one with you, but after the meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
You all know how to get hold of me. So, okay, we're done with the announcements of the committee chairs and ad hocs. So we're on to item H. The Studio City Neighborhood Council authorizes the following board members to submit community impact statements which have been passed by a vote of the board to the CIS portal. For clarity, the corresponding secretary shall be the primary person responsible for submitting CIS and RFAs, requests for action. The additional authorized board members, up to 3, actually we could do 4, are to serve as backup. So it's 4 in total, my mistake. So the corresponding secretary, which you've already voted on, is Jeff. So we can pick a second, third, and a fourth board member to run as backup only. You guys aren't going to be posting in competition with each other. We've had this before. Previous board had it, and no one ever had to post, as far as I recall. Jeff has posted everything. But as a formality, any nominations or self-nominations?
I
Yeah,
just have a question. What's an RFA?
request for action.
Oh, request.
It's kind of like a motion that doesn't have a council file. So if it's not related to a council file, it's not a community impact statement, it's just essentially a letter that goes to usually the council members.
I have a
Or-
question.
yeah.
Is it just to the council members? Can this board submit a request for action to the mayor's office?
We can copy the mayor's office,
Okay, good.
but we submit to our council members.
Got it.
And copy whoever else we want.
Got it.
And that's what keeps us in the clear.
Thank you.
Any board members would like to be in the,
I nominate Scott. The president should be a backup.
yeah,
I'll second.
okay, I'll accept.
I nominate Adele. The secretary should be a backup.
Good point.
Second.
Adele, you accept?
Yeah.
Can we just get them all at once? and then-
Yeah.
I nominate Lori. We need attorneys.
And it says up to 4, it doesn't mean you have to have 4.
Right. In
And
case
Lori?
some of us are flying on a plane
Second.
together and something happens.
I second.
So, okay, and you accept, Lori?
I guess so.
Public comment on Scott, Adele, and Lori being the backups for the person who can file into the portal and process the community impact statements and RFAs. Any public comment on that? Yes, go.
Thank you. For clarification for the request for action, these are elected officials. I have always asked directly for action. I don't need the board's approval for anything. If someone needed a lamp post, I don't say, oh, I have to go to the port, wait the constituent or stakeholder 3 months to get any action. And I see nothing that prohibits anybody individually within sound mind, because when I was in elected office, I had some real whack jobs in which it happens. But where in your bylaws or does anything that request for actions only can be done by the board? Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? Are you raising your hand?
No, putting on a sweater.
Okay.
He's just trying to keep warm.
Not seeing any. Back to the board, or shall we just vote on us alternates? I think,
I'll just say
Yeah.
something really quick. It's really easy. You get a password, you upload a file, and you can submit it to the council file. So it's not that difficult.
okay,
That's all.
Bladen? Yes,
Crew?
no.
Yes.
Okay, Clements?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
Gatsionis?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Mandel?
yes.
Gehan?
Yes.
Niederberg?
Here.
Rittenberg?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Slattery?
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, appointment of second signer and alternate signer. And I'm going to ask for a little assistance from Kim on this one, because this is mentioned in our packet that's coming up later, correct? And those names are in the packet.
No, not yet.
Well, they're
It
going to
will-
be put.
Yes, yeah.
In the previous packet was, who were our previous ones? So that everyone knows?
We had Richard Niederberg and Scott.
And me.
Brandon was Richard and then Brandon and then Scott came into,
So, any nominations, self or otherwise, for the second signer and alternate signer?
for the new people, why don't I just explain?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please,
That's-
so.
That's a good idea.
This is, so the treasurer signs these, what are called BACs, Board Action Certification. So when we vote on a motion that has to do with financial matters, it requires the vote of the treasurer plus the second signer. We will, so it's just signing a form saying that you agree that this was the vote, that you approved this vote. We need someone also to be a credit card holder. The people who do this, we'll need to be able to upload receipts to the portal, and it does require a little bit extra financial training. I think I'm not even sure it's extra time, but a different module of the financial training that the city gives. But there are minimal credit card purchases done, but it's very important and very helpful to us. So generally, a signer will be a credit card holder, so we'll need an alternate who'd be the first one, and then a second card holder and alternate, so backup signer, second signer, in case the alternate is not available. So generally, 2 people are kind of running the financial stuff, the treasurer and the second alternate, right? Not the, yeah.
Second signer and alternate signer.
Yes, correct. The second is the next in line, then the alternate. Thank you, Adele.
So the second signer who countersigns these forms, sometimes that person may not be available and these things need to be signed, so we have an alternate signer. It's good to have 2 possibilities to sign in addition to the treasurer, so our financials get submitted. I did it for a while. We had a few. I'll be fine nominating myself to continue as a second or the alternate if we have someone else who would like to be the second or the alternate signer.
I'll second Scott Mandel.
Okay.
And we usually do this in PDF. The email comes, and if you have
Digital signature, yeah, pretty easy stuff.
if you have Acrobat Pro,
Sometimes, yeah, the whole purchasing.
it's really easy to insert your signature. Otherwise, you got to print it, sign it, scan it, and
I'm
then
happy to do it.
send it back.
Yeah, I live at my computer. You will never let an email go by me.
Okay,
Jen's
Jen?
volunteering.
Great. Fantastic.
I'll second.
Alternate.
You wanna
You're
be
second, I'm alternate,
Okay.
or other way.
That makes
Well, do you want to be second and I'll be alternate?
Sure.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So the
Take
other
some
way
off
around
of
now?
Scott. Thank you, Jen.
So Jen will be second. So Jen is going to countersign everything, and if Jen can't or won't, for whatever reason, I'll be there as backup.
Perfect.
Public comment on second and alternate.
Are we including credit card holder
Or
in
we
that?
should, that's the next
We really
item.
should.
Well, we'll just, can I just put the 2 together? I mean, I really should do it one at a time.
Motions.
Yeah, they're separate. They're separate line items.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All I'm asking for, because in Van Nuys, there was a little problem. One of the board members that had the credit card couldn't pay for their card rental, and they decided just to temporarily just put an authorization. I kind of saw that, so I was characterized as a bigot and an asshole for bringing that up. But it got resolved. So that individual did try to go to the city attorney's office to get a workplace violence restraining order to teach me a lesson. And they found out I really don't care because I'm Mr. Apathy. So it was a wonderful thing, but it was not morally right, as several people said. I should talk to that person offline, but I'm not an offline person. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment on that?
Yes. And again, I want to thank you for volunteering for this position. And when you fuck up, and undoubtedly you will, and as soon as you do, we have our associates over here. We have the cops, the security guard, and the bearded one here, the wise one, who will tell you what you did wrong, when you did it wrong, and how much you're going to pay out of your pocket. And then you'll come back here to this board groveling for reimbursement sometime around July next year. Do you have my calendar? Yeah. Well, I figure about June 2024, that vote should happen. So, again, thank you for volunteering and not being paid to get yourself in trouble. Go Puppet appreciates it.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? Not seeing any. Board comments before we vote? We can vote.
Bones,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Slaughter.
Yes.
7-0-0. It was 4 ineligible.
Correct. You can't vote on any financials until you have all your training in. So it's pretty much, it's very similar for the next item, for the bank holder and second bank holder, except, oh, what happened?
Oh, I just wanted to say it needs to be you, absolutely,
Oh,
because
oh,
I
we're
go
not there yet.
shopping for so
I
many
know.
event items, and you graciously let us use your van. So it absolutely, positively, you have to be number one on that.
He wants it, are you kidding?
So, and Kim will correct me if I'm mistaken, but unlike the second signer and alternate, with first bank card holder and second bank card holder, there is no alternate. We have two bank cards. So we decide amongst ourselves who's going to be purchasing what for what event. These are all going to be approved purchases. Obviously, you can't go out and do whatever you were going to do with your rent-a-car. I have a card right now. I've been doing some of the purchasing, and I have no problem continuing with it. I think, like I said, with first and second, it really doesn't matter because it's just two cards. And I would, was I nominated? Barry,
I nominated.
Barry didn't count.
I second.
Okay, so I'm fine with that, and we need an additional card holder or a second card holder. And since it's traditionally the same as the signer, I'll nominate Jen, and can I get a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay.
Did you want, Richard, did you want to do it?
I could very easily do it. I'll do it, but, I don't mind being preempted, but I'd still like to do it.
Are you back up to snuff, Richard? Or do you want to wait a little while?
I think I could do this stuff, the work of a card holder, considering a lot of times to do with merchants, and a particular merchant that doesn't like our brand of credit cards. But now just changed to a different company that does our.
I know you're talking about Costco, right?
Yes, I am.
We'd still be happy if you want to participate in that way. I think it's great, though, to have people
I'd
with
love
a
to,
card
yes.
who are going
Happy
to
to
the
do it.
store,
You do it.
who can actually go, what?
Asking you a question.
What's the question?
Can you go to the store, Richard?
Yes,
You're okay to drive and everything?
yes. Today's not a good day for it, but I think it'll be fine. I think what happened is the criteria will be done in time for us to get the food for the next meeting of this nature.
So,
There may
Richard,
have to be other
is he-
things also, yes.
so do you want to nominate yourself, Richard? Or-
Okay, I nominate myself.
Okay.
Take your argument.
That would need a second.
I second.
Okay, so we have three, any others who really want that city credit card or purchasing card? I'm sorry, it's not a credit card. It's important that you're able to, get in the car and go drive and, hit Smart and Final and pick up the stuff and deliver it and all that, not just for online purchases.
It's not a ton of stuff, but it means that going to Domino's, maybe pick up pizza or something, although we'll all talk about that.
Yeah, for the events.
And
We'll
Scott's-
try not to load anybody up too much, but
Scott's not gonna be the one going like tonight, because he's in here setting up the room. So one of these other two has to be able to go and get the food. So that's a reality that
With a
you
car.
need to know. I mean, if you work late and can't drive, you shouldn't be doing this, because Scott can't do it on meeting night.
And for the events, can be quite a bit of stuff. Cases and cases of a couple 100 pounds of stuff, actually.
now you're gonna scare her out of it.
Oh, no. No, she has a big truck.
I have a Prius.
It's still a lot of proof.
It has a hatchback.
So maybe Richard, in like a couple months, we revisit when you got your wheels going and all that? Is that fair?
And we'll send you to Costco and reimburse you.
As long as stuff gets delivered, we're doing fine.
Okay, we'll go to public comment on what we just discussed about the bank card holders. Go ahead.
When you say Costco, Do you have to have a membership there? I have my membership through my EBT system for low-income homeless criminal people. So does he get reimbursed, or do these individuals get reimbursed for their Costco membership for using that? That's a very interesting question.
Hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't, that's an outrage.
No, because we
Okay.
use this, we use mine.
Yes.
You should be reimbursed.
It doesn't matter.
Want to file a workers' comp claim for you or something?
I can give you a quick clarification on that. The city purchasing card does not work at Costco. You have a public comment on the card holders?
Yes, well, the idea of bringing food and everything else, didn't we just go through this COVID thing and they were delivering and everything else? Can't we get the stuff delivered? Wasn't that the big thing? Delivery here, delivery there, we've got a whole cottage industry, it's a booming enterprise. Just get the stuff delivered. Get it delivered here or wherever you want it delivered, either through Costco or whoever will deliver. What is so hard about that? I mean, you don't even have to be going to college to figure it out.
Thank you for that. Barry?
It's not always free, and we try to save money where we can, which is why we go to Costco to begin with. So we have more money to do other community things unrelated to food.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? Are you raising your hand?
Yes, no, it's a hoof, sir. Yes, I raise my hoof, yes. So, we're using somebody's Costco card for government purchases, is that what I'm hearing here? So, in other words, somebody is loading up on your government purchases on their personal license. Is that right? Yes, I think the people at Costco, and Lorenzo especially, I think we should look into this matter and make sure that this board gets its own commercial membership and uses its commercial government account to purchase what? Yeah, you're right, government-sponsored bought items, right. This would be like, for example, if I had my app at 7-Eleven, and you guys were purchasing 200 hot dogs a month, and I was getting the points for it. Well, that has value. So thank you, sir, for waiving your Fifth Amendment potential privileges and attorney work and attorney privileges and admitting that here on the record. And of course, Mr. Gomes now will be doing what we know he always does in his other job, keyboard work. Thank you, and continue the criminal behavior.
Any other members of the public?
I get no money or points from Costco back.
Understood.
By the way, they charge me.
Any other members of the public? Not seeing anyone. Board? Questions, comments, points? So as I understand this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen and I will be the two card holders. I can be first because I already actually have the card, and I've already done the training, so I can immediately do our purchases, and we'll have some type of food at the next meeting, and I'll stock up the office for our committee beverages and snacks as well. So to be clear, that's what we're voting on. Let's vote.
Clement,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Cardinal,
Yes.
Sandell,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes.
Niederberg,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
7-0-0 with 4 ineligible. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to K, this is announcement of vacant seats. And again, this will be on our website. This will be sent out in an email blast about how you apply for a vacant seat. Those who wish to serve on the board as the youth member seat, please contact the board president with a statement of interest. A stakeholder who is at least 14 years and no more than 17 years of age on the day of appointment. And just for clarity, vacancies are announced at the first available board meeting. Anyone who applies will be at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, and you'll be on the agenda. So we're not voting on any new board members tonight. We're announcing that the seats are available. The process will be on our website. The process will be in an email. I'll also explain it again. And then at the next meeting, we will vote on the board members who will take these vacant seats. The SCNC has, and if you know anyone who qualifies under youth, send them our way. The SCNC
Advertise to the
Yeah.
community, please. All these open seats, let's get whoever would like to be involved.
The SCNC has 2 vacant business representative seats. Any stakeholder who is at least 18 years of age on the day of the election appointment, who legally provides goods or services for compensation in Studio City and maintains the city business license or owns business real property in Studio City. Stakeholders who wish to serve and participate, please send a letter of interest to the board secretary and president. The SCNC has 1 vacant employees independent contractor seat. Any stakeholder who is at least 18 years of age on the day of the election appointment, who legally provides goods or services for compensation in Studio City, whose compensation is reported by way of Form W-2 or Form 1099, and does not need to maintain a city business license. Stakeholders who wish to serve and participate, please send a letter of interest to the board secretary and president. The SCNC has 1 vacant residential homeowner seat. A residential homeowner shall be any person who is deemed by law to have an ownership interest in residential property located in Studio City and who resides at such property. Owners of multi-unit residential buildings who reside at that property are included within this definition. Must be at least 18 years of age on the day of the election or appointment. Stakeholders who wish to serve and participate, please send a letter of interest to the board, secretary, and president. Public comment on these vacant seats. Go ahead.
On the residential, if I was arrested on my property, but I don't live there anymore, does that count?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, you have to live there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment on the vacant seats? And again, just look at our website, contact the secretary and the president, and we'll get you on the agenda for next month. Do you have your hoof up?
I have a hook, yeah. Now remember the other 2 requirements for these seats. Uh-oh. Well, no, I mean, first, you have to have a lot of time on your hands, and second, you have to meet the definition of a loser. And that's the important thing, yes. And I agree, I think it's a good idea that somebody could go on residential property, sign a 1-day lease, get arrested, and be a stakeholder. I think that you should put that in there. And of course, I would be willing to serve as long as I do absolutely nothing, and I'm required to do absolutely nothing. That's my only condition. And $100 per meeting. Thank you.
Any other members of the public care to comment on this item? Not seeing any. We're not going to be voting or do anything, but does the board have any comments or questions before we, yes, Jeff?
Quick question with the youth seat, for example, does that need to be an individual or could there be vice board members?
The youth member is an individual. They can establish a youth committee and have a vice chair of that committee and populate it with all the youths of their choice.
Oh, the youths?
The youths.
Got it.
Any other board questions or comments on the vacancies? And you can also contact me offline. Okay, moving on to item 4, announcements by government representatives. Lorenzo's on the agenda. I don't know if he has anything more to say.
No, just one announcement. Again, good evening, stakeholders and board members, and welcome once again and congratulations. Again, to the board members, my name is Lorenzo Briseño. I'm from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I'll be your point of contact for ADA, your neighborhood empowerment advocate. You should have my contact information. I'll go ahead and send you another email. I've been provided with your public email addresses already. I'll be updating the roster. So effective tomorrow, you should be receiving emails to that public email address. And as it relates to the Congress of Neighborhoods, The registration for the Congress will be opening up next month in August. For more information, you can go to neighborhoodcongress.la. It is a public event also. It's going to be held in City Hall on September 23rd. Breakfast, lunch will be served. There's an opening session as well as a closing session and dozens of workshops. So again, if you want any information on this workshop, on this Congress, which is the largest gathering of neighborhood councils, you can go to neighborhoodcongress.la for more information. But that's pretty much it in terms of my announcements, unless there's any questions.
For the new board members, we'll be getting regular emails from Lorenzo and from Dunn about all kinds of happenings going on in the neighborhood council system. So pay attention to those. There's a lot of information in there. Public comment. Brandon, go ahead. We're going to time these, so let's do 1 minute.
Oh, it's okay, it'll take 10 seconds. Can you update us on the SB 411 that just passed a major hurdle in the assembly? Can you update us on that, please?
That's something that the department is still looking into. Everything's finalized because they'll have to go ahead and create their own guidelines pursuant to whatever the city council chooses to implement. So we're just waiting. There's nothing set in stone as of yet.
If you go to vnnc.info, I put up all the support letters in the opposition, if you wanted to see that. For the neighborhood Congress, are you part of that or helping out with that?
I am not, but there are 3 of my colleagues who are.
Okay, but I need to know for the food, if they're offering vegan, kosher, or carnivore options. Thank you.
I'll get to it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Lisa.
If you all go to the Congress, you'll meet people from all of the other neighborhood councils, 99. It was so much fun, it's so informative, and you get to break out and find out about lots of things that you can do in a neighborhood council. It's a whole day, and it's really actually fun, except for the speakers at the beginning. They take too long to talk, and you're all waiting to eat, but totally worth it.
Go ahead.
Okay, since you're the guy from the city, could we get a few agendas printed? Not everybody is on the web. Not everybody has email. Email, I'm on EBT, folks. I know this is Studio City, it's highfalutin. I'm the Sun Valley end of North Hollywood. Yes, I'm in the council district as Mr. Corian. However, you're different, not your pay grade, your socioeconomic level.
Would you take this?
I mean, we still have.
Here's your agenda.
Okay, but I'm just saying for future reference, something should be done. How much could it cost to print a few agendas? I'm sure that we waste a lot more at City Hall. I mean, how else could I say it? Even slimy Stevie Soberoff goes and pockets money when he's supposed to be doing public good and finding school sites. Oh wait, let's sell that Van Nuys Drive to Burke, Mr. Christian Burke. Oh well, oops, and that's us taxpayers getting fucked on our funds. So, how hard is it just to get a few pieces of paper?
Thank you, Speaker.
The trees are dead anyway.
Thank you, Speaker.
See, I used 721 stuff on mailbox.
I'll just give a clarification point. We do have agendas printed at all our meetings, except this is the first time the printer was having some issues and we were unable to do it, but we appreciate your comment.
I have a question for Lorenzo.
Was there anyone else from the public, or are we ready for, yeah, go ahead, Rudy.
Are we at agenda item 5?
We're on 4A with Lorenzo. We'll catch you on 5. Barry, did you have?
Our computer was also updating, so.
Okay. We promise we'll have agendas for everyone, or we'll have a few on the table for the next meeting.
Call me if you run into that problem, I can print it out.
So board questions for Lorenzo, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know where things stood with the Zoom licenses being transferred to the board's responsibility for payment. We're voting on this about the 3rd, 4th time now to just make sure we've got it in place. So where does that sit?
Right, now, and one vote would suffice, but the department still hasn't connected with the city clerk's office to figure out how they're gonna invoice NCs for those Zoom licensing. So I'll ask again, I've been asking, and I'll, get back to you.
We're not anxious to pay for it, that's all right, but it's just, here we are yet again, so I wondered where it was sitting.
Right, yeah, no, so I'll find out, I'll ask, and again, I don't know if there's like a waiting period because the clerk's office is trying to see what happens with this bill, if more agencies want to go virtual, they want to purchase more Zoom licensings. So I'll find out and see what information I can gather, if any. But yes, now there hasn't been any new development on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any others from the board? Thanks, Lorenzo.
Welcome.
We're going to go on to item B, other government.
There's Denise Shaw is here.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought, I'm sorry, I thought you were more.
That's other government representatives.
Got it.
We're going to go to Diane first. She's from Laura Freeman's office.
Next person, yes.
And first timers get to go first.
Thank you, Scott.
So thank you for coming, Diane.
Is this okay to stand here?
Sure.
Okay, that way I can see everyone. Good evening, my name is Diane Rana. I'm a field rep for Assemblymember Laura Friedman. I started May 1st, so be nice. No, take it easy on me. But anyways, I've worked in Sacramento for various legislators. I moved to Southern California in 2006. I actually used to live off of Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard when I had my second daughter, so I left Studio City. We now live in Burbank, come here all the time. It's a little bit about myself. Congratulations to the 4 new board members that were sworn in this evening and all the returning members. I'm going to do a little update. Forgive me, I've got some notes on my phone so I don't forget anything. This past legislative session, Assemblymember Friedman has moved 13 pieces of legislation from the Assembly to the Senate. Those 13 bills have all passed Senate policy committees and are currently sitting in the Senate Appropriations Committee, where we have until September 1st to move them to the Senate floor. The legislature is currently on summer recess until August 14th. They just recessed last week. Pardon me. So when they return to Sacramento on August 14th, the Assembly member will continue to move her legislation forward. I did want to note that the Assembly member is hosting a press conference on Tuesday, July 25th at 10 a.m. in Studio City. The location of the press conference is Laurel Canyon and Fryman, and she's going to discuss AB 645, which I know has been getting some coverage lately. What is AB 645? That bill creates a pilot program for speeding cameras. This bill will create a pilot program in 6 cities, one of which is Los Angeles. They will only be posted in areas with a history of street racing or near schools. There will be 2 warning signs for drivers prior to entering those areas. And for the first 60 days, for the first 60 days after the cameras, or once the cameras are installed, drivers will receive a warning citation. After that 60 days, they will receive a citation based on how fast they were going over the speed limit. And I would like to note that these are not considered moving citations. They're similar to a parking ticket. So it's not a point on a driver's license. The Assembly member started this week off serving jury duty in downtown Los Angeles. The district office continues to assist constituents with EDD cases, especially as we have a lot of people out of work because of the WGA and now SAG strikes. If you know anyone who's having problems dealing with EDD, which I know is very rare, please have them call the district office in Burbank. The number is 818-558-3043. You can also put in messages on the Assembly web portal if there's some legislation that you've read about and you want to encourage the Assembly member to vote in support or opposition. If you send a message to the Assembly web portal, 90% of the time I'm the staff person who sees it, and we put it into a system. When she's on the Assembly floor or in committee, she can pull that up and see. I've had residents from Studio City tell me that they oppose or they support this bill, so we do get that information to her. And you're also welcome to email me directly with any legislation concerns, casework, issues related to the state, I should say, I don't do city or county issues. But my email address is Diane, D-I-A-N-E, .Rana, R-A-N-A, @ASM, like Apple Sam Mary, .ca.gov. That's all I have to report.
If you can hang out there just for
Sure,
a second.
sure.
Members of the public, you have 1 minute for your questions. You can go first.
Regarding the camera, speeding camera, it is an administrative action. That means for someone to go forward and fight it, they have to post the money. They're not entitled to discovery only under civil. They have to pay witness fees. There's a lot of barriers and lack of due processes in which you can tell your boss that is not very American. I've dealt with her before. She hates my guts because I'm German, which is fine, nothing new. But that's what that bill does. Second of all, how can I cross-examine a camera? And who's going to be issuing the subpoenas when I need to bring someone into court? Are they allowed to have an attorney? According to that, I can't represent anybody. Why not? Your bill is precluding, not including. And on top of that, what is not paid goes to the franchise tax board and will hurt people's credit. It says in the bill. Thank you.
Brandon?
Yeah, question regarding the bill. What's the definition of history of street racing? Is it one race? Is it 10? Is it based on the neighborhood and what the neighbors say? Is it clearly defined what history of street racing is? Because as far as I'm concerned, that can mean anything. I'll read the bill. I haven't had a chance to read it. It might be defined in the bill, but that really popped out with your report. History of what? How do you define it?
Can I make a comment, Scott, or?
Well, if there's going to be a bunch of questions on the same bill, you can just answer them all at the end. It'll
Okay.
probably be better.
Okay.
Go ahead, you're next.
During the COVID, I was walking, I found this white car with blue lettering on it. It was a state of California car. It didn't say if found, mail to, or call. Well, I first called up Bob Hertzberg's office, and I got a voicemail back, and they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I was trying to get it to them. And guess who I called up, and they cooperated? Assembly Member Laura Friedman's office. I went over in Burbank and I brought it and I said they need to put something on it, if found, please mail to, or call. She was very cooperative on it. Whereas Bob Hertzberg's attitude in his office, you know, and I know, he's always looking for the next thing he can run for. He's your typical slimy Jewish lawyer who would say anything to get a vote. And I've never voted for him and I never will. But Laura Friedman was cooperative, and I released her deputy. And I do want to say that because when people drop their state stuff, there has to be a way for us to get it back to the agency, for them to get it back to the person. Instead, people will pocket it or throw it away or whatever.
Thank you, Speaker. Your
And
time is
so-
up.
Just wanted to compliment your boss.
Lisa?
Since she's having it in Studio City, is that where a camera's gonna go?
So
The
there's,
racing is on Venture Boulevard.
I believe that, I don't know that that exact location will be selected. It's my understanding there's some percentage limit based on, I think it's population, and there's a limit of 212 cameras that can be installed in the city of Los Angeles. I don't know that those have been pre-selected.
Okay.
But if you have suggestions.
Venture. I'll record the notes.
Any other public comment? Are you raising your hook?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes, so we have good news. According to Geico Insurance, those tickets are minor point violations, and they will raise your insurance for 4 years. Let's give everybody a hand, yes. And of course, you're punishing people who work and are not homeless, so that you can punish them for working to benefit people who don't work. That is the Los Angeles model. And you all vote for these people, see, that's what they did. So I have a list of the places that I would like these cameras in. What? Yes. Havenhurst and Burbank, I think one would be a good location. I think Havenhurst and Ventura. And I think also Balboa Boulevard in Ventura, that's another good one. Hey, that's all my streets. Yes, because this human here drives like he's a maniac, and I want your boss to get him to start driving that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Speaker.
Any other members from the public? Rudy?
Thank you, Scott. Hi, Diane. I'm here just to point out that we're still waiting to have the public safety lights corrected and repaired at the freeway overpass on Tahoma Avenue. We talked about it in Valley Village
yes.
a couple months ago. We've seen no activity there. Those lights have been out for over a year. And it's not clear if the city is taking ownership of those lights, but it's the lights that downlight from the freeway overpass. They've been out for over a year. I mean, and the lights just went out at Moore Park and the one overpass. And we need those to be working. It's inexcusable that the lights have been out for as long as they have. And if there are anyone else here that can help us deal with this, with the public safety officers, please get together with Laura Friedman's office, the city, get these lights on. I'm not talking about the vast majority of the stuff that's getting torn and destroyed, but these lights have been out for over a year. It's unacceptable, it's inexcusable. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I do recall that we talked about that at Valley Village, whatever that was. And I actually been emailing with Caltrans. I didn't talk about Caltrans because I want to talk about AB 645, but I would also note that if you submit a Caltrans service request, or what they call a CSR, online, and you want to forward it to me, I add it to my big list of things that I get updates from Caltrans about once a month. And that is on my list, that those lights have been out forever. The last update I had from Caltrans was they're looking into it. I have a conference call with them next week. Can I give you my card and ask you to email me so I can give you the
You
update?
gave me my card, we've already gone down this.
Oh, I didn't call me your card, I apologize. But I do remember that we talked about it.
It's beyond making a customer service request at this point. It's like, get tough with Caltrans, or get out of the way. It's a problem, and every state assembly person in this office has not dealt with this issue. So it's time to either sue Caltrans, take a stance, and get the problem resolved. It's a public safety issue, and it's your first priority as an elected official representative to handle this. Public safety is all here for. Thank you.
I assure you, I deal with Caltrans issues every day, and EDD. Those are the two things that I work on and spend the most time on. I'm learning the Caltrans process to try to push it forward, and that is on my list. And I did drive by that same location that we discussed. I didn't see that the lights were out at night, so I'm not sure that I have the right location is why I'm bringing it up to you. So I would like to talk to you on the side, if that's okay, just so that we can make sure we're on the same page. Would that be okay? I'm sorry that it's frustrating, I just want to make sure that I'm moving forward on the correct issue. And I'm sorry for the other two gentlemen that had questions about AB 645. I have a great staffer who will address very detailed questions like you asked, sir. If you want to send
Excuse me, I don't identify as sir.
Oh, apologize. If you want to send me questions, I will do my best to get you a detailed answer to your many questions.
Are there any other public, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, if your boss and the rest of the state legislature can lean on Caltrans, more so than I don't think they are at all now. 30 years ago, the freeway land along the medians along the sides of our freeways that are Caltrans property were pristine. There were no weeds. It was well taken care of, and they've let it go completely to pot, at least in District 7. And if you go into Orange County along the freeways, it looks like it used to look here 30 years ago. I don't know why, for a state agency, why there's such different priorities for LA County versus Orange, but it's markedly different when you cross the Orange County line, and you hardly see a weed.
I've observed this as well, and as I said, I'm learning about it. Unfortunately, and like I said, I talk to Caltrans weekly, multiple times a week. I was reminded that technically the governor oversees Caltrans. The legislature, we try to interface with them as another state office and encourage them to do the work. I just drove over here from Sherman Oaks and was observing, you know, exactly what you said, multiple feet, dry weeds, trash. And I know it wasn't like that when I moved here even 15 years ago. So I hear you and I assure you, it's my first priority on behalf of Studio City, Sherman Oaks, Toluca Lake, and Valley Village that I work with Caltrans as much as I can, communicating to them what constituents are telling us they see as issues. So I know it's bureaucratic and I know it's not very exciting, but if you would be so kind as to try to send me what you're sending to Caltrans, I will do my best to follow up with them. I've heard some constituents say, Caltrans said this issue was resolved, and they send me a picture and go, look, it's not resolved. I can take that picture and send it to the Caltrans team and say, hey, what's going on here? You know, and try to get feedback and try to get them out there. So I know it's frustrating. I hear you and I appreciate the
I'll
call.
copy you, and I'll copy you a motion that this neighborhood council did on palm trees that have 30 years worth of dead palm fronds on them.
On Caltrans property?
Oh, on every freeway in LA County. I mean, they're in the tens of thousands. It's like anywhere you look on a freeway, if you see a palm tree, it's got all this dead stuff. Hasn't been done in 30 years.
Okay, I welcome that, thank you.
Any other public comment? Raise your hand. We'll now go to the board. I do want to make a suggestion on AB 645. There is a council file on that. There's a resolution of support from our city council. We haven't chimed in on that, and maybe that's a topic for our transportation committee to take up at our next meeting. Position on AB 645.
Which one is that?
That's the speed cameras. The only neighborhood council that's chimed in on that is the West Side Neighborhood Council, and they chimed in with a resolution of support. So we'll talk offline. You give me the person's name who's the expert on it, and we'll have our committee and board action on that soon for 645. Any other board comments or questions for Diane? Jeff?
Hi, Diane. Real quick, at Witsit and the 101, there's, along the freeway, there's chain link fence, and a lot of homeless individuals are abusing the fence, cutting it, trampling it down, getting access to state property. And this is also the confluence of where CD4 and CD2 are. And there are also competing jurisdictions involving the county and the water district and all this stuff. So I spoke to the field rep for Adrin Nazarian's office before the switch to Assemblywoman Friedman. And the field deputy told me that there was some kind of money or program where they were gonna build a sturdier fence along that particular area to help cut back on the illegal activities that are going on there. So I just wanted to get an update from you as to whether or not that's gonna actually come to fruition. And additionally, all along the freeway, there are homeless individuals who are creating fires and all along that stretch of the 101. So I just wanna know if there's a plan in place for the state of California to deal with putting up sturdy fence to prevent individuals from just breaking in and causing havoc there.
I just recently learned about something, I believe it was called, I don't wanna say the name wrong, but it was a more sturdy fencing that was like wrought iron with
Right.
barbs that come over and some kind of grate across it that they've installed in parts of North Hollywood, I believe.
Right.
And that's on my ask for next week's call with Caltrans. how to get more of that fencing and what's the cost, because I would think it would be more economical to stop repairing the fences and put in a more expensive fence one time. Do you know if, and I can give you my card, Nazarian's office did a budget earmark?
I'm not into the weeds on
Okay.
that, so I don't know, and there's a transition
Right.
from his office to your office, so I don't know if it got lost in the
Well,
shuffle there.
Budget earmarks take 12 to 14 months to fund, and that's why I've actually been talking to Caltrans about one for Toluca Lake that I understand. So if there's one for Studio City, I can look into that.
That'd be great, thank
So do
you.
you know what those look like? Because there's one I think on Vineland, I'll send you a picture.
Yes, I have pictures of that exact one, I know just what you're talking about.
There was
I-
also one.
I sent you those pictures.
Yes.
There is one installed at Studio City, Coldwater, the underpass. There've been a bunch of new fences that are like, that. What you
Oh,
said.
really? In
Yeah.
Coldwater and Studios is?
Yeah,
Okay,
Coldwater
underpass.
and on the underpass, on the 101.
And the chain link is very small, so you can't put your foot in it to climb over.
Yeah.
Very nice, yes.
It looks a lot better.
Any other,
I do have I have another question, as unrelated. I think it was SB 499 that Laura Friedman started. It was about not installing hardscape in, it was heat island effect, not installing hardscape in schools. Do you remember
Is
that?
that this year?
Yeah.
I know that she has one that has to do with commercial landscaping using more native plants. I don't know if that's the same.
Oh, is that AB 6676?
I think, yes, that's the one. So
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with 499.
Okay.
But what, did you have a question on that?
No, I just wanted to know, I know that it passed the Senate and it's in appropriations now, along with AB 1423. Do you know about those? I'll email you.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll email you.
All right, I appreciate that.
any other board questions? Thanks.
I can throw out one more
Yeah,
thing,
sure.
if the council would be interested. I'm working with Caltrans to get representatives to come to the neighborhood council meetings so that they can hear your concerns, issues, because I feel like I'm telling them.
You should.
But is that something that the council would be interested in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, contact me.
Okay,
And how about the District 7 director, or acting director, I think she is. That's who we want.
okay, I can put in that request, I don't know if they'll do that specifically or not. Okay,
All right, thank you for that.
thank you.
Denise, bear with us, we're going for the first timers. We have the fire department here. I didn't know you guys were coming, happy to see you, so
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Diane.
you could come up here to the table.
Whatever you'd like, just so.
That'd be good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aaron Guggenheim. I'm representative for the Los Angeles City Fire Department. I'm newly appointed here to Battalion 14 that has Studio City. So I wanted to introduce myself first of all. We are a stakeholder in this community, so I want to let you know what we can offer, which is emergency preparedness, prevention, response, and recovery. So I'd like to bring with me a couple safety messages for you and for the community. As we go into this, what is now clearly fire season, we're in the middle of a heat wave. Just want to offer some tips for everyone to be prepared. So we have a program called Ready, Set, Go. It's a nationwide program to help with preparedness where we get our homes ready, and that's done through home hardening and brush clearance. We get set to go by having a plan, emergency escape plan, communication plans for our family, and then we listen and monitor for when it's time to evacuate. So we have flat land here, we also have the hills, and it's a priority for us that everyone is prepared should a brush fire start and ready to leave early. So please, if it happens, leave early. You can monitor LFD alerts through our website, lfd.org. And there's a lot of tips on there to help you prepare your homes and neighborhoods. So we also want to get your feedback on how we can help serve the needs of the community here that pertain to our mission. So if there's anything that you want to present to me, I can bring it back and hopefully get things done for you to help the needs that you have. So.
Can you stick around if the public has any questions?
Sure,
A
we can
couple?
stick around. We're gonna take off after this, but can I answer questions now or am I gonna come say it in the meeting?
No, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, Are you, which fire station are you out of?
I'm the battalion chief for Battalion 14.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a little.
One of them.
One of them. In Van Nuys, they have a fire station there. And there's been several government officials that have called the fire station, and I've even gone by myself to see what needs to be utilized with the public room, community room. Not one person's ever gone back to anybody. My FedEx letters to the station have been returned unclaimed. And I had one of your wonderful deputies at Van Nuys meeting basically treat me that I was pretty much an idiot, that, oh, did you try to call them? Did you write them another letter? Did you try this? Did you try that? I did not appreciate them not accepting my FedEx letters, asking what's the policy and procedure. If my stuff is being returned, what else is being returned? And nobody wants to address that, and I feel very sorry, and I don't blame the firefighters. It'd be people like you I'd be the real a-hole towards. So you better figure out, or tell me where I can look, how members of the public that could legally and lawfully utilize that community room can do it, unless there's something I'm missing. Thank you.
Am I able to respond?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not sure of this issue.
Yeah, I'm not familiar either, but moving forward, if you want to give me your name, I can, and the dates, I'll happily reconcile it, or the room you're trying to find, I can give you the numbers and handle it with that fire station. They did, if you're talking about Fire Station 39, they did move addresses recently to new locations, so it's possible that that's the cause of the letter. As for the community room, we can reconcile that. I apologize on
Okay,
behalf.
thank you very much. I'm not gonna do anything towards you, because the first thing I would have asked, if I was in your position, may I have a copy of everything that you've sent them, so I can see where the breakdown was. I'm not gonna waste my time. Thank you.
Okay.
Lisa?
So I live along the river near Colfax and Ventura, and we have lots of homeless people.
Yes.
So first I want to know is it legal for anyone to have an open fire in LA?
The answer is no.
Okay. So the other problem we've had is that between you guys and LA City, of course, on the streets above the river, and LA County Fire Department that handles the other, nobody knew what to do, who was coming, or who to call even when there was a fire on the it ended up being on the fence of the property that's in the city and into the river. So who should have been called? The LA City came, and if the people hadn't been home, we were told that they would have knocked down their fence to get to the fire, of course. But to get to the fire would have been better if somebody was down there. But we don't know what to do.
So 911 was called. Okay, it's possible that, I don't know all the details,
Of
but
course.
Oftentimes the specific location needs to be clarified once you get there. So I'm not sure I totally understand.
Well, maybe I could give me your email address or something, and I'll have somebody notify you, because it was terrifying.
When we get there, we're gonna make every attempt to find what was reported using the reporting phone number, by driving the area, and whoever we can see find an issue was called in, because something's called.
Well, then, of course, there's no addresses for the river part, so that was, nobody able to do.
We try to do a cell phone signal to personally from the site, but we have numerous ways that we can try and find the source of this information.
Okay, so with a card or something, I'll give to the person.
I can give you,
Okay.
an email.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can give us your contact information.
Should I just give it to you? Is that easy? I don't
Yeah,
have a card. I just got to this.
If you could just write it down.
Sure.
And I'll.
Aaron?
Aaron?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Barry?
So
Thank you so much.
LAFD would be the only fire department responding to any fire in Studio City, if it's private property, city, county, federal, state. It's like if we have a fire in the county land along the river, the county fire department from 15 miles away doesn't come, it's you, right? You tackle everything?
Not exactly. So we have certain areas that are called the mutual threat zone or initial attack zone, where there's a shared border, for example, Laurel Canyon, or Franklin Canyon, I apologize. That is shared between ourselves, Los Angeles County, and Beverly Hills Fire Department, and Eastern National Park Service building, so federal. So in certain locations, when that is reported, we all go there, we have agreements, contracts, that we're all gonna go there, provide our resources. And once things get figured out, we'll decide who's responsible, whose land it's on. But in some parts of the city that are outside of those lines, it's just LAFD.
So like along the river in Studio City, we're not gonna get a county response to a fire that's on the line between the city and the county?
I would have to look at the map, to be honest, I just don't know well enough.
Oh, cause I've never seen a county fire truck in Studio City on the flats.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that.
I've seen them put out fires on flood control. The one on Vineland, the station that's right there where the beautification was, they went across the street and put out a fire on the other side of the fence in flood control.
And they do all the river rescues in the
Universal,
winter.
Who else has their, Peter?
Are you familiar with the project that is going in around Station 78 in Studio City?
What's the name?
Harvard Westlake?
Minimally.
There's, so it's basically it's going to engulf the fire station for most of on all sides. It's probably, construction's like 3 years. It seems like there should be some discussion whether or not the fire department is concerned with that construction. I've also heard that the fire department is going to get access to these world-class facilities from Harvard Westlake. What they're building is a 16-acre world-class sports complex for the high school. So there's a running track, tennis courts, Olympic pool, and the school is granting the fire department access. But I've also heard that the residents are concerned that the egress for the fire department is a little compromised with this plan. As somebody who, getting older and I might have a need for the fire department, I'm concerned that there might be a little conflict of interest if the fire department actually accepted some extra services from the school. And I'd like to have a real conversation about whether or not there is an issue with that fire station being compromised. Thank you.
I guess you'll have to investigate that.
Yeah, I'll bring that to, I'll have whoever's coming next meeting bring that information. I'll have to look into it.
Goat?
Yes, thank you, yes. So, of course, we got a good question here. So after the homeless criminals on the street set fire to everything they have around them to put it out, I noticed you leaving all of the burnt debris on the street for days and weeks. How could we get the cleanup immediately done, right after they burn everything down and you put it out on the sidewalk? What could we do to get that toxic, because it's toxic, we want to get it off there so kids and animals don't get hurt.
So in public right-of-way, we, after all fires like that, we contact Department of Street Services. They come and they clean that up and take it away. That's just part of our operation for anything that's in public land. If it's on private property, that's up to the property owner.
Yes.
Any other hands from the public? Not seeing anybody. Board questions for the fire department? Go ahead, Chip.
Oh, yeah. So I'm looking at the geography that Battalion 14 has, and you kind of span most of Southern California. I mean, at least, from the flats all the way over Mulholland into Coldwater. With all the rain we've had, the growth in the hills has been huge. And there is that big green space that runs along Mulholland all the way from the 405 to the Hollywood Freeway. The weed abatement was taking a long time. I talked to the guys at MRCA who were up there, who said they're doing the best they can, but they're swamped. Is there any kind of communication with you guys in MRCA to see if they've caught up yet?
We do communicate with them. We train with them actually quite often, so I can follow up with them and find out. But as you mentioned, they have a big task at hand.
Right.
But I can find out for you.
I mean, it was a real concern a month ago, and as it would happen, I spoke to someone from CD4 about that, and of course, the next day they happened to hit it. It was completely coincidental, though I'm sure he takes credit for getting them out there. But it's better, but it's still pretty scary. And there's some areas where where the weeds would normally be knee-high, they're currently shoulder-high, so a fire would move quickly. Right.
Any other board? Go ahead, Kim.
I just want to say, please reach out and let us know how we can be of support to you guys as well.
Thank you.
If there's something we can do.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for your service and for being there for us. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Adele?
I have a question about PFAS in the, you know, whatever, I don't know what it's in.
Turnout equipment.
Yeah. When the different stations, like 78, 108, when they come back, do they clean their engines on site, or do they have one main place to go to clean, and, you know, and how do they deal with the sort of issue with PFAS?
So, if I understand it correctly, it's a material that's built into our firefighting.
You know the stuff, the foam stuff,
Mhm.
that is full of PFAS.
Generally, our apparatus are washed at fire stations that have a clarifier, which removes a lot of the heavier debris, but as far as PFAS, I'm just not familiar with. I'm familiar with our foam, but it's not really cleaned off of the apparatus. It's held in a tank, and when it's used on site. So if your question is it leaking into?
Well, when they clean the engines and stuff, is it going into the water table?
No,
Is it?
no, it's
yeah.
in a tank that's secured in the engine. It's diluted when it's used, so it doesn't go on into the water.
No, I mean, it's a big issue right now because PFAS has been found in all of our water. And so, you know, I think that we're gonna have to find a way to get it not, you know, for the firemen to not use it. It's quite dangerous. It causes, you know, endocrine problems, kidney problems, lots of problems. So, you know, you're in danger as well. You know, I mean, I know you're in danger every day in what you do. And I do also appreciate everything that firemen do. But I think that we have to really look at, you know, it's an emerging field of concern.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Any other members of the board? So just leave me your contact information. In the interest of time, I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'll contact you.
I got his email.
Oh, okay, great.
Perfect.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for staying so long, too.
Denise, thank you for being so patient.
We didn't mean to punish you for coming, sorry.
Hi, I'm Denise Shaw. I'm field deputy for Studio, is this on?
No, it's a prop.
it doesn't seem, I'm sorry. It's a prop, Mike.
I'm Denise Shaw, I'm field deputy for Councilmember Paul Krikorian, for Studio City. I have a couple announcements. One, I don't know if anyone's been to our NoHo Summer Nights that kicked off last weekend at North Hollywood Park. This week will be the Selena tribute concert. Week after, we're having the Elvis movie. The week after that, an Elvis tribute, young Elvis tribute. And then there's a bunch of other stuff, but that's the next couple of weeks. If anyone's interested, it's on our website, it's on NoHo Summer Nights website. Give me a call, I can get you the flyers. The other thing, I just wanted to go over a couple items on the agenda and things that come up in the neighborhood. I'm assuming you guys have heard about that party house on Valley Spring Lane. Assuming that was gonna come up. So, if, for those who don't know, there's an Airbnb, short-term rental home on Valley Spring Lane that has been renting out, and a lot of the people are having parties. There was a very large out-of-hand party the end of June. Police were called, helicopters, it was a big scene, a bad situation, but it was handled well and no one was hurt. But it was pretty intense for that neighborhood. And right after that, we got more calls about it, or we got calls about it, and we had home sharing with the planning department look into it. Home sharing has housing department do their inspections and enforce the codes for that. So they have been issued an order to comply. There was a party last night, the night before, last night. Or maybe 2 nights ago. There was another party. So we're just telling the neighbors to call the police. We need to build a case that they're continuing to have these parties. They are not licensed. So it's not even taking away their short-term rental license. There's no license, but they are being issued orders to comply. They're putting a case together for administrative hearing. We are doing what we need to do on our end to move this forward. LAPD has also issued their, it's like a party ordinance type of notice. So on the LAPD side, they're issuing what they need to be. But so that's where that situation is. The other thing I wanted to mention, if I don't say later, regarding the speed humps on Satsuma. We have talked with the neighbors and we have talked with the principals and we decided that we're gonna move them. It's item 8. It's regarding speed humps in front of all the schools that council adopted a couple months ago. We're moving the speed humps onto Whipple. We all feel that that would be a better location. It'll help with the speeding and stopping at the stop sign, that the people aren't stopping at the stop sign, and slow down that area when families are crossing the street to get to school. Satsuma is a short little street, probably doesn't have a lot of traffic. So that's was decided. You should see them fairly soon, in the next couple weeks. They'll be in. They'll definitely be in before school starts. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the issue of the Caltrans, the fencing, and Jeff, you asked the question about the fencing. I still don't have complete answers. Did she leave?
She just left.
Okay. Steve Ferguson, who I think you spoke with in Ms. Aaron's office, is in our office now. So he's trying to find the contract. I will call Diane and I will give her that information that there is a contract on that. I don't know exactly where they're going. And they're working their way through the city. So I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it. I don't know how to do it.
Great.
In terms of the lighting under Tahunga, is it under, lighting down onto the sidewalk?
And the roadway as well.
But the road, not the freeway.
The road, the Tahonga Avenue, it's down lights recessed in the freeway overpass.
And that's it, yeah, so I wasn't aware of that, but I will put that in. I got a call today actually that Vineland is now out in the 101.
It's been out for weeks and weeks.
Vineland?
Also, and Moore
Okay.
Park is out again.
Okay, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're just stealing copper wires, and it's,
In this case, how do they get in? Moore Park, it's the transmitter cabinet.
they get them from the ground, I think. Because I saw on Moore Park, oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but on Moore Park, I saw, we did have that, they were pulling power actually from it, when we had that fixed. But so it's Moore Park, Tahunga, and Vineland?
There's also lights out on the bridge on Colfax,
At
the top.
On the freeway or on
the top of Colfax,
on the
bridge
river?
right out here.
300 feet this way.
Okay, that bridge over there, okay. All right. I will put these all in. There's such a backlog with street lighting that I wasn't aware of the Tahunga one that's been out for a year, but, I will,
We're talking about streetlights that are out. Over there, Lankershim and the railroad tracks, there's a ton of them. And then go down to Sherman, there's a ton of them. All in Council District 2, all from the park. And I figured since I got the deputy here, I've been, every time a meeting has an agenda and talks about lights, I've always been a plug for those lights that are out. Because they've been It's great speech material about lights out. That's the sad part. On action.
All right, I will relinquish.
And drive around at night, you'll see a lot. You can't
Yeah,
see it.
we're aware of the streetlights issue, and we're meeting with them every other week, going over our lists. It's a 45, they say a 45 business day backlog, but it's longer. It's
years.
It's, and once they get back on, they're right off. So it's a problem, that we know. The council's looking into other alternatives to prevent this in the future, but so far nothing's come up. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up was the Caltrans maintenance. Our office also is keeping a running list of the service requests that we put in and double checking that they have been done, because they'll say it's closed out and they're not done. So if you have any, you can also call our office, or if you put in a service request to Caltrans, let me know and I can put that on our list to follow up with them on. So that's it, unless you guys have questions.
Lisa and then Peter.
Denise, it's not the only party house, and it's not the only thing going on.
No, I know
There's some-
that owner has other houses.
I don't know about that, but I mean, we've had, believe it or not, a takeover of about 500 people that were on the empty lot. At the time it was empty, but now there's cars there behind, Ventura and
It's
Colfax.
CD4.
Oh, yeah,
Keep in
CD4.
mind.
Yeah, no,
Never mind.
That's okay, but, because I know
But
that.
I just wanted to mention what happened. So I was given a phone number, I was on that, holding on that phone at 10 o'clock at night.
For the non-emergency number, for LAPD.
The number that you're supposed to call to get somebody to come out for something like this, not for our police station. They gave me this number, and I was holding on for an hour and a half. And when they came on, the cop actually said to me, "That's not important enough, we're not doing anything about that." So it had
So that
happened
was
another day.
that was LAPD
Yep,
non-emergency?
LAPD, then it happened again, another time, it was 4 times in May that no one ever came out. And honestly, it's very difficult to know where certain things are. That was a place that we knew exactly what the address was. And the second one started at 11 o'clock, and by the time anybody called me back, because I had to leave a number, at 7:30 a.m., they stopped, and that, like 2 seconds later, I get a phone call from the police.
They're gone.
We recorded, no, they weren't gone, they were still there, but we recorded the noise. But I mean, the house across the street from me that backs up to the river, that house was built in the 90s. They have triple pane windows, and it was shaking from the one thing. So we didn't know anything about the other one, but it might have been one of the times we couldn't figure out what it was. So just so you know, the noise comes down the river, and you really cannot tell where.
I know, it bounces.
Because I think that big thing was in May, and it might have been one
It
of
was
the days we
June.
have.
It was the end of June.
Okay,
The end of June.
It wasn't that, but it was,
There were helicopters, I'm sure you heard that, it was bad.
yeah. So anyway, I forgot
Yeah,
about
I know,
that.
unfortunately, the best
I
thing to
mean,
do is
whatever it
call
is.
that non-emergency, because you want them to just have the record of
Yeah, of
they
course.
made the phone call.
Several of us have called
Yeah.
on different, so we had different phone numbers making a complaint. But maybe they got caught, or they decided, oh, we better go someplace else because they haven't done it again. But that takeover was so incredibly dangerous. It was unbelievable. You couldn't even see any part of this place and where they parked. They just parked in the middle of our street. And, because we have the footbridge, so, I mean, it's horrible. But that's not your district.
Peter?
Okay.
As part of it was considered a public benefit, Corian requested that a ramp be built at Coldwater down to the river on the north side as part of, for Harvard Westlake, make it their responsibility to build that ramp. And there was a recent meeting of the LA River Cooperation Committee, and there was a gentleman there from Public Works or something that said that that's not feasible. So I'm trying to find out if this is gonna happen or not, because none of us in that neighborhood want that. That's a death knell to our neighborhood because of Sportsman's Landing, doesn't have enough parking, breaks their conditional use permits, they have employees parking in our neighborhood. And building that ramp makes us their secondary parking lot.
So I think maybe the ramp you're referring to,
It's at Coldwater on the north side.
but part of the Harvard Westlake project?
It was asked, it was stated as a public benefit.
Because it's a quarter mile from the actual Harvard Westlake property.
No, it was,
I mean, that they're building it because it's part of.
Yeah, it's part of what the city is asking them to also do that.
it probably, but it came in the letter that
You were
Gregorian
talking
wrote.
about? Okay.
In January of 20.
No.
Not part of that. I don't know anything about it, but I'll look into
Yeah,
it.
this gentleman seemed to
But I
think
think
that-
it's now at CD4,
Yeah.
It is.
so,
But I'm asking because you're from Gregorian's office, and I know that's a different district now, but he requested it, so maybe.
but is it in, but it's not in the plan? I'll look into it.
We'll send you some more detailed
Yeah, that-
information
yeah.
about the ramp and maybe what the Public Works person said about the channel walls. Not Goat, and then Barry.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'm familiar with the city attorney's office, and I called about that party house a couple days ago when Sherman Oaks had a problem.
Yeah.
And I understand, and I'm not blaming you for the lack of resources that are being offered. You're trying your best. They don't prosecute under the code 38773.1, the government code, abatement stuff. It's a civil action.
Right.
Mike Fuhrer used to do it tons and tons of times for the prostitutes, drug dealers, and just nonsense people. City attorney's not doing it, and what really kind of piqued my interest is keep calling the police and keep calling other people.
Well,
What's your
police-
response, and I'm not blaming you, don't get it because.
Right, but I want to explain, the police is because of the, there's two issues, there's the noise complaint.
Yeah, they don't care.
The party.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one.
Nothing's gonna be done. Why, based on what you could represent to me, and I'll take it as true, what has the city attorney's office done regarding abatement lawsuits against these properties where they'll get paid back because they put a lien on the property? They could do the RICO actions and so forth. What response, without disclosing any attorney-client privilege or work product if you want to, but you could do that if voluntarily if you want to. What has the city attorney's office done? Because when you get a lawsuit, something has to be done on the other side. What's the problem?
At this point, we don't have it in the city attorney's office, there's no lawsuit right now.
No, I know that. Why are they not being prosecuted?
Well,
Through through a civil action?
because there's a process and
I'm
we're
very
not at
familiar with
that,
the
we're not at
process.
that point yet. They just say.
You said the word "we." Who's "we"?
The city, I mean, the process is that they
Ma'am, you
have.
said the word "we." Who's the "we" part? There's you and who at the city attorney's office?
It's not the city attorney's office, it's housing and planning right now is where the city is in the process. So there's an
I
order
gave
to
you the
comply.
code section is for the city attorney.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Barry.
Thank you to the council president for elevating this with LAPD, because without him, nothing would happen for the folks on Valley Spring.
Absolutely.
Because the police are not interested in noise issues. They're not interested in coming out. They say as much. And they basically say every time you call them about anything, they're not, it's not my job, basically. And then they say they're too busy, but yet on days that I start work at 3 a.m, I'll see them sitting, having some coffee at a 7-Eleven at Tujunga and Ventura. So I don't believe they are that busy in Studio City when those parties are happening. So it's just, they've gotten into this mindset of saying, we're too busy, we can't do it, we don't have enough people. And it's just not true.
Especially for the noise.
Yeah.
It is their job.
Anyone else from the public? Goat?
Yeah, and again, we want to thank your council president for the good services he provides. I'm calling your office right now if I see something. And I'll show you. Now, this is how you do it. This is an example of great service.
Is there a answer machine?
213-473-7002.
It's 9 o'clock.
See, and this is what we, this has been going on for 6 weeks now. I drive through the freeway and I see stuff, and I call 213-473-7002 if I'm in the second district. You guys turn that voicemail off all the time. You guys are not taking voicemail, you're not listening to your constituents. This is thousands of calls. Because I go through the city, I call 213-473-7008 if I'm in the 8th district. I call up these other places, I leave a message, like if I'm driving, and I see a homeless criminal with a bunch of lights out. You can't do that with Procurion's office, because he turns off his voicemail. Now, I think she should have told you that, right? Because, see, so I gotta play this. So I would like you guys to do what 13 of your other colleagues do. I would like you to turn on your voicemail, so your constituents can call you with their concerns. Is that a hard thing? How come it's off all the time?
I think it's full.
No, it's been this way for weeks
Well,
on end.
I will let the downtown office
I
know.
audit every council office. I don't know if you know I do that when I'm not playing with my puppets. I actually audit all 15 council districts, and I audit them to see if they're turning voicemail on. And you guys do this all the time, and you've been doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, when I go home from my beleaguered job down the 101, and I cross right over Lancashire with that bridge, you have all those street lights under the underpasses that are completely off. And you turn the lights on and they're off again. So, I mean, you guys, look, if you don't wanna do the job, it's cool. I'll take your job. I think the pay's good.
I will let the office know that.
The pay's good, right? I mean, it's a better job than this job. So, again, but isn't that embarrassing? It's been going on for months, right? So hopefully after tonight, you'll actually be in business again. And then people can leave messages. That's why you don't hear a lot of this, because you don't know a lot of this, because you never hear it, because you never have the voicemail on, right? That's what you do, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just sit here and have an honest conversation. You don't want to hear from these people about problems, because you don't have to. You have the job. You're gonna make the same amount of money whether you do a good job or a lousy job. He's only got 2 years
I will make
left.
sure the voicemail's on tomorrow.
He's got 2 years left, he's turned.
It's on, it's
He's
just
got no
fine.
worries, okay? And another thing, when you read through the district lines in that illegal meeting, you guys divorced yourselves from the 2 projects that are destroying the city right now, so that you can claim you don't have responsibility. And you have us go to Nithya, she knows nothing about it. But your boss isn't in the district anymore. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give you a 25, because you guys are so much smarter than me. And I had a 3.95 grade point average in law school, and you are so much smarter than me, that, no, it's not an issue. You guys, I just wanted to let you know how much smarter you are than me, and I wish I had a time machine that I could go back and get into this politics.
Can you wrap it up, please, just in the interest of
See,
time?
that's the point, is that you guys don't know that they don't care, because they've got the bag of money from Woodson and the school and sportsmen's that they've annihilated. They've won. So they're just serving the last 2 years out of getting their paycheck. Okay, that's the reality, man. So if you take the reality and move from the reality to the narrative, then you'll get something done. That's why I have to play this voicemail here tonight. See, because if I didn't play this voicemail, how many of you would know it? None of you, right?
We get it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's how they get it. I mean, it's just.
No, thank you for
I'm not a
that.
critic. I'm just-
Any other members from the public before, not seeing any more hands, any board comments or questions for Denise? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Denise.
And we'll get back to you offline with more information
Yeah.
about those other items that were brought up.
All right, okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Not seeing any more government representatives, I do want to make an announcement about that. There are some faces that are usually here that you do not see tonight, and I've been notified by the Office of Councilmember Rahman and Supervisor Horvath that they refused to come on to this lot because of the strike. Now, we thank Lorenzo, he came here from the city. We had city fire department. We had Denise, who came from Council President Kokorian's office. We had Diane from Laura Friedman's office, but we didn't have, Supervisor Barker's office, there was a scheduling issue. So she would have been here to pass out certificates for us to give to the board members who were leaving. But for Supervisor Horvath's office and Councilmember Rahman's office, they refused to set foot on the lot and speak with us, speak with you, and speak with us because of the strike. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's a private action labor dispute that has nothing to do with the city. We're here, all the other people I mentioned here, so I just wanted everybody to know that Councilmember Rahman's office and Supervisor Horvath's office will not set foot on this lot. In fact, we were asked if we change locations, Councilmember Rahman's deputy would come to speak with us, but not here. So I just wanted to make that clear, and I will go to public comment, 1 minute for each person on this issue. Peter had his hand up first.
I'm so sorry, 1 second. Does somebody have music coming through headphones or something? Anybody? I keep hearing something that is distracting.
Yeah, I hear it now.
Is it Brandon? Brandon! Brandon! Could you tap him? Brandon!
Is it your headphones we're
Yes.
hearing?
You're being thrown out.
Are we hearing your
Your
headphones?
headphones are, we're hearing it up here.
You're kidding me.
No, it's been going on a
How's that
while.
working? You
So,
mean my headphones are going through that?
We're hearing
No.
somebody's headphones.
Okay, now turn them on.
you were listening to music, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
That makes no sense because this body has nothing to do with entertainment, except for maybe go public, but it's been reported, while the WGA strike is on, Rahman held an event with a Warner Brothers lobbyist. So, questionable, it's a stretch. This is a stretch that I'm reporting, and it's a stretch that she won't set foot. There was a neighbor who's a lobbyist, works at Warner Brothers, and Rahman had a meeting in her neighborhood with her. So that's what, it's like, she should be called out for that, so should Horvath. That's just me.
Rudy?
Thank you, thank you for letting us know that, because that's just unacceptable. I mean, let me just simply ask, is anybody in this room on strike? Is anyone on strike tonight? Are you on strike?
Yes,
A couple of us are on strike, I'm not on strike. None of us are on strike. The facility makes the space available to the community so we can gather and discuss the issues that we all want to resolve in our community. And clearly, Lindsay Horvath and Nancy Rahman aren't interested in, they're virtue signaling about something that it's totally a separate deal. We're here to create solutions for this community, and they need to be here. And that's not an excuse for them not to be here.
Thank you for that, Rudy. I want to make a point of clarification to Rudy's comment. Everyone who entered here tonight went through what's called a neutral gate. It's a specific gate for entities that are not party to the labor dispute, like the Studio City Neighborhood Council. We enter a specific gate that's assigned to neutral parties who are not party to the dispute. So we're not crossing picket lines and we're not involved, and the other companies who are on the lot, and I think the next public comment person may make mention of that, there are other entities on this lot that are not party to the dispute as well. Barry? And then you.
Like KCBS, KCAL, we report for work. We're not, the unions that are on strike have nothing to do with us. And we go through the neutral gate, and like you just said, everyone has come through the neutral gate. Plus, the Rahman and Horvath should not be taking a position they should remain neutral. And even if they were worried about crossing a quote-unquote picket line, they only picket on the Colfax side, and they're only out there right now, between 9 and 12 in the morning, because it gets hot, but they were here from like 9 to 4 before it got hot. So it's a total, I don't know, I have no respect for either one of them for doing this, because they shouldn't be taking a position one way or the other, and they are by this action.
Go ahead. And if you want to say your name, if you don't have to, but.
Mike Greenspan.
Pardon?
Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan.
Okay, sorry about that. One thing I was just told, Ramen Noodle just met with a lobbyist from Warner Brothers. I mean, after all, let's not be hypocritical. I mean, it sounds like good old Reverend Jimmy Swaggart preaching against prostitution and getting caught at the bordello. Well, that's not the ramen noodle attitude. And Karen Bass saw that school strike within 2 days. How come she hasn't worked on this one? I'll tell you why. She had this independent expenditure committee from Jeffrey Katzenberg for $850,000. And that's why she is shutting her mouth. Yes, Katzenberg bet on the winning horse. Those racist white Republican pigs with their $5 million war chest for RIC KKK Caruso, this expenditure committee, they bet the wrong horse. But of course, you know and I know, they didn't want to see a Schwarzenegger in the mayor's office. Plain and simple. But because he bet the right horse, Katzenberg has to do nothing. She's playing with the puss, that's all.
Thank you. Not goat, go ahead. 1 minute, please.
Oh, thank you very much for calling me a racist, I appreciate that. And
I didn't call you one.
I'm a Republican conservative, so but I appreciate it, I don't care. We can go there. Very simple, ramen noodle doesn't care. And the only time that she's been answering my public records act requests is actually some of the city attorney had me assigned to me so her staff would actually respond. Because all of a sudden I was giving copies of summons and complaints, and I said, you know, if I need to spend the $435, that's fine. You gotta understand ramen noodle. She's a moral person. She's not that smart. At least this board is realistic on issues. She's just not that smart, and she never has, never will be. But she got elected over Rue, so she did something right, but she's just never a realistic individual. Thank you.
Any other public comment on, go ahead, go.
Yes. Anyway, again, I just told you what was gonna happen. You had a very, very good council member in David. And you voted for the very, very attractive candidate, which is Nithya Rahman hyphenated Newsom. Because why? She's from a third world country, and she's a progressive, radical socialist. And she loves homeless. And that's what all of you like too. And so you installed her, and then you know what happened in 2021? Over at the labor union, they had a secret meeting, and they redrew your council boundary, didn't they? And I told you they were gonna do it. You didn't listen to me. No, he doesn't even listen to me. Stay on the topic. Yes, he doesn't listen to me either. But you will one day, when you realize that Catherine Barger, known as Parbeat, does not like you. Lindsay Horvath doesn't even know how to get here with a car. And they don't want to listen to your problems, do they? So what a perfect excuse. The excuse today is a strike. Next week it'll be,
Oh, I'm feeling threatened.
or some other stupid excuse. Yes, thank you.
Lisa?
I'm sorry, but I don't believe anyone in this room probably was in Council District 4 and voted for Round when she became the councilwoman. We were all in Council District 2. All right, you're different. But that's,
I'm special.
just wanted that on the record.
Any other public comment on that particular item? Any board members want to wait? Go ahead, Chip.
I mean, this is Radford. This is a hammer, right? This is not a programmer. Radford is not a signatory to the debate. So this is like not going to the dry cleaner down the street from Warner Brothers because you don't want to be involved in the picket line. The people that own this building, that give us this room for free, would also really like to see the strike solved. So, I mean, it's absolutely misguided, and I think we need to actually send some kind of documentation on this. Radford isn't the enemy of the writers or SAG. They're a middle person. It's like shooting it's shooting an innocent civilian. It's absurd.
And we're the collateral damage.
Well, they're not gonna pay us money. Oh, do you wanna give me $3,000 to get a meeting room out of the budget? No.
No.
Right. It wasn't even worth a response, I knew you weren't gonna give it to me. I mean, that's ridiculous. We have to do something on this.
Any other board comment? Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, I agree with Chip. I think we should, clarify, set them straight on the true function of Radford Lot. That they're not, they're not producing.
The title of the email can be Bad Actors. I had to do that, sorry.
It's a writer's strike.
I've been thinking.
And Scott, you can just do it yourself.
I can respond to one of the emails. Jeff?
Yeah, I think we're all stakeholders, and we actually have a constitutional right to petition our elected officials and seek redress for grievances. So, for someone who's concerned about the rights of the hotel workers downtown, what about the rights of the stakeholders who spent their time showing up here this evening, took time away from their busy schedules, yet for some reason she's not here to listen to our grievances or her staff. So I think we need to send a request for action to the council member and also to the supervisor, telling them our displeasure and how, this is not the right thing to do.
Anyone else before we move on? I know our friends from Bevmo are patiently waiting. We're going to get to you real soon.
We warned you.
I told you it could be a long night. We're done with item 4. We're going to go on to item 5, which is public comment on non-agenda items. So if you're a member of the public and you want to make a comment on something that is not on this agenda, that is under this neighborhood council's jurisdiction, you have a minute and a half. You don't have to use it all. It's getting late, so you can go first.
Okay. Remember the mayoral debates between Bass and RIC, KKK Caruso? Well, the police officer's favorite, which of course 80% of them don't even live in LA. Other than that, I'm getting onto a certain issue. And during the debate, they asked the question of RIC KKK Caruso, name 3 things that the mayor can't do. And I've cut a lot of classes, and I'm proud of it, because I could answer that question easily. The mayor cannot declare war. The mayor cannot mobilize the National Guard. The mayor cannot preside over a trial. I'll even name a 4th. The mayor can't make appointments to the court. Now, it got to be about Caruso and how he was young, and they told him he couldn't do stuff. I mean, folks, if I had crib questions like the KNX debate question, I'd be a lifer in the National Honor Society without even trying. Easy questions, KNX. Obviously, I'm grateful and glad that Caruso got his butt kicked. He would have been the worst. Do you know that every single time Mitchell Englander, the part-time pig who went to prison for taking bribes, guess who contributed each and every time? Caruso. In 2011, he gave $500 to his campaign, then gave $500 to his office account when he was elected. Then the amount went up 4 years later to $700 for the campaign for elected, and $1,500 when he ran for supervisor. And he talked about corruption.
Okay, thank you, Speaker.
Thanks. Anyone else go ahead, and let me remind you, please have your comment to an item that is under the jurisdiction of this neighborhood council. Go ahead.
I'm going to compare this neighborhood council with Van Nuys neighborhood council. You try your best, Van Nuys, they don't give a shit. You follow through. Over there, I'm an asshole. I appreciate, and I actually enjoy coming here. Actually, a lot of the members have gone out to lunch with me, which I paid, and so forth, and they just ask for certain clarifications, which is fine. You don't have to like me or anything. But I appreciate that you just ask, and you ask proper questions, proper terminology. Van Nuys, if they could fuck up a junkyard, they do. You, all the members got their certificates, Van Nuys did not, because that could be considered, it's not something about a participation board. Everybody has to be equal. Everything over there is moral, Marxist, socialist, and so forth. It's a Nithian Ramen, a whorehouse of people. Everything always has to be done, almost, maybe, but you guys don't do that. So obviously, that's a bad thing to do. So if you wanna see a shit show, come to Van Nuys. They have better, the prostitution has gone better, that means better pricing, better services, and better looks. That's how they think prostitution has gone better over there. They don't care about the sex trafficking, and they don't care if they have a potential convicted child molester on the neighborhood council, because everybody's equal. Thank you.
Puppet, go ahead.
That's right, yes, and for the record, of course, you have your friend over there, Mr. Combs, and he goes to the neighborhood council in Van Nuys, so he can, if under oath, he probably can testify to all of this, yes. Now, as you know, the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council has a hybrid meeting, and it works. How come they can do it and you can't do it? So what I did was I used a cell phone like this one here. You know, the one that I try to call 213-473-7002 and it never gets through. Well, the night of their meeting, I got through. And the humans could hear me and I could hear the humans. So see, hybrid meetings are possible in only that council district. But not here, and not anywhere else. So again, you'll need to keep your calendars out. Let's take our calendars out and let's give you an FBI update. Okay, so Mark Ridley Thomas lost his motion to have his charges thrown out and he's gonna be sentenced up the river next month. Let's give him a hand. Hey. And of course, Jose Huizar will have another Thanksgiving with his family. What? Yes, the FBI has agreed to extend his sentencing from next week to December the 10th, 2023, so he can spend one more Thanksgiving with his family. Thank you, Jose Huizar, for your great service. I think he deserves a hand.
Thank you, Speaker.
Yes, thank you so much.
Any other members of the public for general public comment on non-agenda items? Not seeing any more hands. Okay. We're going to go to item 6, financial motions.
Okay. I will just jump right in here.
Excuse me. Thank you, Denise, for coming.
Thanks, Denise.
Very good job.
The motion, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves up to $450 for two Zoom licenses. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chip.
1 minute of public comment on our Zoom licenses. This is a repeat of a previous Zoom license that we were told by the clerk we had to do again for this financial. Barry, go ahead.
So this is just in case it becomes a requirement?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have,
Thank
I'll
God
give you,
for in-person meetings, because you cannot hide behind so many different things that our planning department does with their Zoom meetings, and that I feel neighborhood councils would do if they were only in Zoom. So we function so much better in person than we ever did in Zoom. Thank you.
and I'll give Barry a point of clarification. We have a few hundred meetings recorded at the Zoom site, and if we lost our Zoom license, we would lose that, and it would be a big project for one of our new board members now to take up, to individually download all of those hundreds of meetings onto a hard drive for long-term storage for the day we don't have our Zoom licenses.
So the Zoom
Lisa, go ahead.
license is for keeping all that stuff, not necessarily to have
At the moment,
hybrid meetings, because again, I think it's the worst thing.
there's always that possibility.
Okay.
Any other public comment on our Zoom licenses? Go, you have 1 minute.
Yes, because it's completely useless here, I support continuing to pay it. I think it's good that you waste money on things. That's what they taught me in Van Nuys. So, yes, I approve it, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Not seeing any hands. Board, want to talk about the Zoom licenses? Let's vote.
Comments?
Yes.
Cutler? Yes. Hardwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niedenberg?
Yeah.
Slaughter?
Yes.
700 with 4 ineligible passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, B, motion, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the 2023-2024 budget and the treasurer, signers, cardholders named, determined at July 19, 2023 meeting. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you.
Scott.
Um,
I didn't.
Do you want me to discuss the budget quickly?
Yeah, if you want to just put it into context of,
Just quickly, we had brought this before, at the last meeting, before the board, so that many people here have seen this, but currently we are working with a $32,000 budget. That's the yearly budget allotted for neighborhood councils. And we should be having about 10,000 more to work with once the city clerk's office gives the green light when they're done with their audit, I guess, their full accounting and audit. So we'll have more hopefully then to do more things here. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but you guys did see this, many of you last meeting. That's it, quick, short.
public comment? Not goat. 1 minute, please.
The problem with your budget, it doesn't coincide to Van Nuys. Van Nuys, their budget's very big, ambiguous, and overbroad. They like to do moral things, like paying the webmaster about $750 to $900 a month and so forth. You have to be incompetent. If you're not incompetent and a loser, this is never going to work. You have to follow what Van Nuys does, because everything with them is moral, and I'm a racist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Puppet, you have 1 minute, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to point out that I think your budget on the food is very good tonight. I had a nice meal back here. And anyway, if you want to, I think you can cut it down. I mean, it's a little excessive, you know, so. But thank you again for the delicious meal in the back here. Fresh fruits and vegetables. For a hard meal is what I always say. Thank you so much.
Any other public comment on our budget? No? Board, comments, questions?
Call for a vote.
Clements?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
Hardwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niedenberg?
Yeah.
Slaughter?
Yes.
700 with 4 ineligible, the motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, finally, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the monthly expenditure report for June 2023. And I need a second, please.
Second.
Thank
Who's
you,
that?
Jeff.
Sorry.
Jeff?
Any public comment on that item? Goat?
No, I'll waive my time so we can speed this thing up. Well, thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Not goat?
Not to goat, no.
Okay, not seeing any of their hands. Any board reaction to this? Let's vote.
Okay. Clements?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
Hardwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niedenberg?
Yeah.
Slaughter?
Yes.
700 with 4 ineligible.
Moving right along, we're on item 6. It's a land use issue. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council opposes ZA 2014-4859 CUB PA1 BevMo unless the hours of operation for the sale of non-alcoholic products via app platform for delivery for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is removed and changed to 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., 7 days a week. I'll read you the project description. Beverages and More, Inc., BevMo, currently operates at 12123 West Ventura Boulevard, Studio City, as a high-end retailer for in-store purchases of beer, wine, liquor, and related goods between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 p.m., Monday through Sunday. Sales of alcohol are authorized by liquor licenses issued by the California Alcohol Control Board, Type 21 and Type 42. To enhance the customer experience, BevMo seeks to extend its hours of operation to allow customers to purchase alcohol and non-alcoholic consumer goods via its online and mobile platforms for delivery during hours when the retail store is not otherwise open to the public. In-store sales would remain the same, with the retail storefront closing at 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday. BevMo proposes to extend the hours of online sales and deliveries of non-alcoholic goods to occur 24 hours a day, with limited hours of sale of alcoholic beverages from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. The motion and agenda also has 3 links, 2 to the LA City Planning website and 1 to a Google Share Drive with all of the documents. So in a nutshell, we vetted this heavily at the last Land Use Committee meeting. We saw the presentation, everyone participated, we asked a bunch of questions. And what the Land Use Committee came up with was, rather than a 24-hour-a-day operation for the BevMo on Ventura Boulevard, they would be closing at 2 a.m. It just so happens alcohol sales close at 2 a.m. as well. BevMo wouldn't be able to sell alcohol between after 2 a.m. anyway. It would be other items not subject to the alcohol hours. So that was the compromise the Land Use Committee came up with. The store will still close to customers at 11 p.m. and at that point it will switch to the app where people can order all sorts of goods plus alcohol until 2 a.m. and that's it. So that's what we came up with. That put it in context. The applicant is here to answer any questions, but we'll first go to public comment. Go ahead.
Before you start, Scott,
Yeah.
just 1 second. You have this as 6 and you had funding as 6, so how do you want to handle that?
Oh, do I have all the,
You have 6A, B, and C, and then.
do I
you have
repeat
land
it 6?
use as
So
C.
just ripple everything one number?
It's 7.
Yeah.
So
Do you
this will
want
be
it to be
7.
7 now?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and then 7 will be 8 and so forth.
No problem.
And I had help people double checking this too. Nobody else caught it. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Let me tell you about going on a Tuesday night as a teenager to Young Life in Orange Park, Florida. What's it got to do with this? Well, we always ended up going to Village Liquors, a package store. And if you could reach your foot pedals to your motor vehicle, you can go through the drive-through and we get our Boone's Farm wine. Hey, I was 17, my neighbor was 16, the law in Florida was 21. You know that Clinton thing about gays in the military, don't ask, don't tell? It works really well when buying liquor underage. They didn't ask how old you are, and I didn't say I'm 17. Well, guess what? This kind of abuse can happen on this type, these online sales. There'll be plenty of minors buying the liquor with fake IDs and everything. Yes, folks. And you talk about the 2 o'clock thing. I've been in an after-hours club in Memphis, Tennessee, and bought a bottle of hard liquor after 2 o'clock. So don't tell me about, well, we'll just end this thing, the liquor sales. Folks, there's going to be illegal liquor being sold all the time. I know, I bought it as a teenager, and I'm sure a lot of you in this room have. You just don't want to admit it. Because the statute of limitations has run out.
Thank you for that. Not Goat, go ahead. And
I don't mind the right for them to do commerce. I do have a problem, which that's already gone through the Court of Appeals right now regarding using apps. Doing that under a conspiracy theory, if a retailer of alcohol sells to a delivery person and sells to an underage. It's gonna be a big problem, and I don't like apps. This is one where it's physically done or it's not physically done. And making it too easy will just, in my opinion, will make it pretty negative. But who cares? Nithya Raman just wants moral. Thank you.
Barry?
For me, this is just a quality of life issue. This is about them being able to deliver Cokes and potato chips between 2 and 7 in the morning. They can't even deliver alcohol between 2 and 6. And I tell you this, in March and maybe February, 2 times on my block, I was woken up between those hours by an idling car. The same kind of idling car that would be these deliveries, leaving their car idling when they walked up to the door. We need, and these 2 idling cars were with my windows closed, and it was when 2 different occasions catalytic converters were stolen from Priuses from my neighbors. But that aside, the idling was the same. And we need some quiet time in our neighborhoods. We need to respect the serenity of our neighborhoods for a certain point of time in the day. We've already lost Sundays, which used to mean no deliveries, and now Amazon's up and down the street all day long. So I think this was a great compromise that the committee worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
So the land use committee did our job. We made a compromise between a business and the residents, because of course, all of you represent everyone in Studio City. So I hope you'll support this, because it's what we all decided was the best quality of life issue that we could give to them and to us.
Goat, you have 1 minute.
Yes, that's right. And what a shame that Bevlo didn't come here and hand out gift cards, like other people. Yes, I can be influenced, yes, but speaking as an animal, what is wrong with getting fucks up after 2 a.m.? After all, we have those party houses out there, and, well, they need to restock, don't they? They need cigarettes, chips. And I think we should go ahead and give them also a pot license as well, so that they can get the whole thing. And that way, all of us can go to work for them as delivery people, making $100, $200 an hour. So you see, it's a win-win, isn't it, when you really think about it? So the problem is that we want to be in on this. See, because right now, we're not in on it. We're okay as long as we're in on it, so. Remember to use non-labor union for the delivery, that's very important, so you don't have any strikes and don't have any collective bargaining. And remember, don't exclude health insurance, make sure that the health insurance is paid by EBT and EBD, so that you guys can maximize profit. And give the homeowners within 500 feet an annual stipend of $5,000 each. And I believe that this compromise will satisfy all of our needs. Otherwise, we're not going to approve this project.
Thanks so much.
Anything else? Yes, thank you. And remember, drinking is good when it calms you down. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public have a comment on this? Not seeing any. I'm sure everyone on the board clicked the links and read all the documents. And absent any questions or comments, the applicant is here, but I don't think we have any questions for them at this time, so, you do, Dimitri.
I did.
Go ahead.
I'm new to this, but I'm just curious, what is the justification for serving alcohol 22 hours a day?
Hi, Stephen Jameson. Hi. I'm here on behalf of Bevmo. I also have with me Dave Valenzuela as a regional manager for Bevmo. Venmo's not looking to sell 22 hours a day. State law only allows alcohol to be sold between 6 a.m. and 2 a.m. When we appeared before the Land Use Committee last week, we spent quite a bit of time vetting out the concerns that were expressed here tonight about between 2 and 6 or 2 and 7. And it's perfectly acceptable to Venmo. What we heard was decided at the Land Use Committee last week, which means that although we've been requesting deliveries to take place 24 hours a day, alcohol, no deliveries, no alcohol, nothing between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., as the Land Use Committee had indicated was acceptable at that time, is acceptable to Venmo. So we're not looking to do it 24 hours a day.
I'm confused because it's saying that it says that with limited hours of sale of alcoholic beverages from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. I'm sorry, that's 20, I have my math wrong. That's what, 20 hours a day?
If I may, this store is open, state law allows alcohol sales between 6 a.m. and 2 a.m. This store has been in operation since 2010. It's gone through 2 renewals of a conditional use permit. It operates actually between 8 a.m., so it's not open between 6 and 8, although it could be by state law, and it doesn't operate at the store after 11 p.m. We're not looking, and what we're here tonight for is for hopefully a recommendation of approval to the zoning administrator who's making the decision ultimately. And originally we were asking for the right to do deliveries 24 hours a day. After 2 a.m. till 6 would have been non-alcoholic. But as a result of our meeting last week, we said that's fine, we'll revise it, and we're not going to do that. And between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., we'll do nothing to do that. And that was acceptable to Venmo. And what we do next, if we're fortunate enough to have a recommendation of approval from this body, we'll notify the zoning administrator. I'm sure you'll notify the zoning administrator also, and we'll say that that is acceptable to Venmo. Does that respond to your question?
I'm a little bit confused. This seems to be proposing serving alcohol via the delivery app and expanding the amount of hours or number of hours by which you would be serving alcohol within the community. That's the way I'm understanding this.
Alcohol would be available to be delivered between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. That's true.
Right. And currently, it's at the store until what hours? Until 11 p.m. So essentially, you're looking to expand the sale of alcoholic beverages, this time via the delivery app, for 3 additional hours per day.
That's true.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Drew, you had a question?
Yeah, my question is this going to set a precedent with the board to limit other delivery services' ability to deliver any goods and services between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. or 2 a.m. and 8 a.m.? Are we gonna start passing measures against, Uber Eats or McDonald's or just anybody with a restaurant that's open selling food at that time? I mean, is that the stance of this board? Is it a precedent with this measure, or is this just a case-by-case basis? Like, okay, well, you don't get to sell chips and crackers, but the person down the street, 7-Eleven gets to sell chips and crackers, or whoever else.
So
I'm just worried with the conflict.
To answer your question, we're not limiting the Uber Eats. This is a conditional use permit change for an existing operation. So they're requesting longer hours. 7-Eleven's open 24 hours a day, and they have, DoorDash goes there.
Sure.
People get their pizza, I guess, at 3 a.m. or hot dogs, but they can't get liquor.
Right.
So for this particular case, as it was discussed at the Land Use Committee, Bevmo really doesn't have anything to sell during those hours. And one of the Land Use Committee members also brought up the fact that we were curious as to what they would be selling between 2 and 4, or between 2 and 6, if not liquor. So those other hypotheticals aren't going to cross, or most likely will not cross our desk.
Okay.
So it doesn't set a precedent where we can then impose this upon existing restaurants or liquor stores, or, there's other, you can order from other apps to deliver liquor and wine and beer and such as well. This was just a conditional use permit change for an existing operation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
Okay.
And you were content with this change?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other board questions? Let's vote.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler. Yes. Hardwick.
Yes.
Mandel.
Yes.
Meehan.
Yes.
Niederberg.
Yeah.
And Slaughter.
Yes.
By 7-0-0 for an eligible.
Are they still ineligible to vote?
Land use, yeah, they have to have ethics.
Oh, got it.
And the other ones are CISs, so they could vote for those.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Land use and funding, they can.
Now we're on to 8, even though it says 7, and it's government affairs, and Barry has a few motions.
The first one, motion A,
Public comment, 1 minute.
the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-0736 to bypass the City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee, PLUM, and bring high-value projects, quote-unquote, directly to the full City Council. See attached letter. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 22-0736. Scott?
Scott just went away.
Oh.
I'll be playing Scott for this portion of
Okay,
the program.
Chip?
Did everyone get a chance to read the letter? So the issue at hand was that in what is a seemingly arbitrary assignment of this is a high-value project, the city would be able to move that planning, that development planning and approval through without going through the normal process, including the plum meeting. And it's very arbitrary about what constitutes a high-value project. The assumption here is we're talking about low-income housing, but that was sort of a guess. So Scott wrote a memo with the Land Use Committee. I happened to attend that meeting. The letter is here. Do you want me to read the letter?
Sure.
Anybody else?
Everyone should have read it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
read it, but I can't even vote on this.
Okay. And so basically, we're saying that we need a whole bunch more definition on what's high value. And we think that the process is there for a reason. The city doesn't get it to arbitrarily violate their own process.
And the gist is, we've had enough political corruption that we want to now bypass a council committee. And also the thought being that if it doesn't go to Plum, it's going to go to city council, where they're going to have to spend time vetting it that is now done by Plum. And city council meetings are long enough as they are.
Where did we leave off? We already did public comment?
No.
We haven't done public comment.
That was just context?
That was context.
Thank you.
We're now ready for public comment.
Great. 1 minute.
Oh, yes. A couple of my favorites are on Plum. Jose Huizar, remember on the 15th of December, last day of Hanukkah, what a gift. He's going to be sentenced to prison because of the bribes. Remember, we were deprived of a 77-story building in downtown LA. Bribe money, of course, but all those union jobs that would have been there with it, corrupt. And of course, then Mitch Englander, going to Las Vegas. Oh, he's a part-time pig, police reserve, taking bribes, not for police activity, for Plum, for development. Money bribes in Vegas, hotel room bribes, liquor bill bribes, pussy bribes. In fact, the federal prosecutor called it an escort masseuse. And Englander's wife was holding his hand outside the federal courthouse, trying to escape people like us. And I hollered, "Looky there! His wife's holding his hand! The hand that rubbed his escort's pussy in Las Vegas!" Yes, we need more people like Englander and Huizar on that Plum committee. The thing should be vetted in front of the council even after it's been on the Plum committee because of Englanders and Huizars.
Anybody else? Goat?
Yes, again, you need the three things to get any successful project done. Pay off the building inspector? Yes. Pay off the council member? Yes. Oh, and donate to the office holder account. Each one of them has an unlimited amount of money. You call it a slush fund. They call it an office holder account. And then you have to fill out these pesky forms called Form 700. And, you'll regularly perjure yourself. 7 years later, the DA will tell you to amend them, and then you do so. But in the case of Mr. Price lately, he chose to fuck up, and now he has 10 federal state charges against him. So you see, your chances of being caught are about 1 in 500 million. So, projects will be approved no matter what you want. So we might as well just expedite and build. Unless the FBI puts them in jail. And it's a race to the courthouse. Yes.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment on this item? Not seeing any. Let's go to the board. Then let's go to a vote.
Wyden?
Yes.
Clements?
Yes.
Cutler? Yeah. Gassionis?
Yes.
Okay. Hardwick?
Yes.
Mendel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niederberg?
Yeah.
Rittenberg?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Swaddy?
Yep.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Motion B, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 23-0493 to allow a new digital freeway-adjacent sign to be installed to distract freeway drivers, despite any financial benefit to a charitable organization. Freeway safety must come first. See attached letter. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 23-0493. And just let me remind everyone that's here that may not know, over the last 15 years that I can recall, this neighborhood council has always been in opposition to digital signs in the city of Los Angeles, and we've done any number of motions on it that have been citywide, and we have chimed in on anything that's freeway adjacent because this happens to be off the 110, but it's a place I drive by nearly every day of the week, and I object to myself or other drivers being distracted by this on top of, the reason it says charitable organization is it's Children's Hospital LA. And they want to lease their roof to a digital sign company and make money from it. I get that. But I think the dangers in the safety to a digital sign flashing to freeway drivers, which there are even state laws against, but they may not be quite close enough. They're obvious to me, just for your background.
Goat, you have 1 minute?
That's right. So, again, every human in the LA County area opposes this project. Every single person hates it, but who's supporting it? Developers, yes. Lobbyists, yes. Sign companies, yes. So the 1.000.00% versus the 99.9990%. Let me pull out my calculator here and see who's gonna win. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys lost. So the sign's gonna go up. Sorry you wasted your time.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Next, go ahead.
Mike Greenspan? Yes, those digitals. I just took a friend to the airport and then picked him up about 3 weeks later. Boy, those digitals in Inglewood, you should see them. I mean, if you had a trampoline and Shaquille O'Neal, he could probably jump on that thing and touch that billboard. It hangs over your vehicle. I mean, that's what those digitals look like. When those billboard companies like you as a candidate, they give you 14 by 48 billboards. Our lieutenant governor brought a leaning. She had billboards all over the place. Supervisor Lindsay, she's another broad of the billboards, and council member Monica Rodriguez. Yes, when they like you, they donate. They expect something in return. Digitals. Places like El Monte doing digitals. You know that Mayor Jessica and Kanye's gonna run for something. And places like industry, you know, Corey Moss, the mayor, there's gonna run for something because those cities are in the palm of the hand of the billboard companies. Yes, why don't we just Inglewoodize the billboards?
Thank you,
Let's be honest about it. They've got a lot of money, money talks and bullshit walks.
Any other members of the public want to comment on this? Peter, you have a comment?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought you raised your hand. Anyone from the board? Pretty self-explanatory, let's vote.
Wadded,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yeah.
Gassionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes?
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Sauter.
Yes.
11-0-0, motion passes.
Motion C, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, requests Council President Paul Krikorian and Council Member Nithya Raman to make a motion to require the Los Angeles City Planning Department to again hold zoning administrative hearings in person, which was always done without question before the COVID-19 emergency, which has been declared over for some time now. And this is the type of hearing like we had last week for Harvard Westlake, that prior to COVID-19, they never in a million years would not have had it in person. In fact, they did it no other way. And we cried and cried out for this meeting last week to be in person and to deaf ears. And I personally believe the planning department is hiding behind just getting the true vibe from the public by doing meetings this way anymore. And if they want to do hybrid, that's fine, but they first and foremost have to do in person. And they're the only department in the city that is not doing in person now. So many are doing hybrid, but they're the only ones doing this particular hearing without being in person.
Thank you, Barry. Goat, you have 1 minute.
Yes, and it's good, and I will note there was a new trick, at that virtual meeting, they took a lunch break, right before I was gonna speak. Yes, the lady came out and said, oh, well, we're gonna take a lunch break on this hearing and come back at 1 o'clock. And you know that I could not do that, because at 1 o'clock I start eating vegetation, where I earn my living, and I farted out. Yes, and then at 1:15, my friend here logged on, and the hearing was already adjourned, so hundreds of people that wanted to speak, unfortunately, had to get on with their lives. So again, note that, that's a new trick, not in person, virtual, check. And taking a lunch break, so they can discourage more people to not talk, so it's good, Weddington Golf Course. So remember, people, if you want to start your life over again, if you have a time machine, become a lobbyist or a crooked developer. It's a lot more fun than being here. Yeah.
Yes, if you don't like it, what can I tell you? Why don't you call up Paul Krikorian? Oops! You won't even be able to get a voicemail in there.
Sorry.
Well, what about Nithya Raman? Well, you guys meet over there where they got a strike going on. So Nithya Ramen noodle isn't gonna be of much help either. It's a great cop-out, this thing. In fact, it reminds me of something that happened before the COVID thing. That big old fat wetback Gil Cedillo had a hearing, and suddenly he ended it. And I heard him tell the officers he had to be at the Roosevelt at 5, probably to fuck his deputy Debbie Kim. See, he had to go get his dick wet, and we got fucked. That's what happened. Suddenly, I didn't get to speak, and I was the first one that signed up to speak, and he said, oh, I didn't have any record of you. Well, he got his just desserts. I don't even know, I mean, I've met Eunice Hernandez, she did a great job. She got rid of the guy from Alhambra, Gil's the deal. Oops, yes, he lives in Alhambra, not in LA,
Thank you, Speaker.
but just to let you know what they do.
Anybody else from the public? Not seeing any hands. Board members? Not seeing any hands, we can vote.
Yes. Clement,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Garcionas,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel.
Yes.
Meehan,
Yes.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Spot,
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Motion D, and let me just preface this by saying this neighborhood council has chimed in on this in the past. This is a little bit more in detail, but again, we are not saying here that we are against sidewalk dining. It's against in-the-street dining and parking lot dining where parking lots are required to be there with their permits. So motion D, the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes the current draft alfresco ordinance in Council File 20-1074-S4. One size does not fit all, quote unquote. Studio City's section of Ventura Boulevard is unique from the rest of the Ventura-Cahuenga corridor. There are several curves and it is relatively narrow compared to the rest of the corridor with little opportunity to widen because it is stuck between the hillside and the river channel. Our neighborhoods back up to or face the corridor. There are numerous other issues causing quality of life issues and safety problems which are listed below. 1, many of our sidewalks are substandard. 2, there are tree wells covering the 3.5 miles within Studio City. There are almost no circulation streets with alleys. The alleys are not maintained by the city. 5, most of the hillside and flat streets have restricted parking. 6, the hillside streets are substandard. 7, the river channel is a giant megaphone both north and south. 8, dangerous curves are within the Studio City Ventura Boulevard area. The SCNC stakeholders have put up with the current alfresco dining because, of course, we want the restaurants to thrive. Most restaurants have valet parking, but without our parking lots, there is no place for them to park the cars, and actually the valet's cars as well. The valets illegally make U-turns around the medians or the middle of the street and hold up traffic when taking and returning cars for diners. On Tahunga Avenue, with street parking half removed for street dining and the structures allowed in parking lots, it is very dangerous for pedestrians and stakeholders crossing the street, even with street speed tables. The sidewalks are so narrow in places 2 pedestrians must walk in a single file line to get past the tables, planters and diners waiting for a table. One of our worst impacts is that there is no enforcement of the current situation, and we highly doubt that the departments involved with the alfresco ordinance have the staff or budget to enforce a new ordinance. Currently, all departments are far behind on enforcement, and it hasn't been possible to get staff to inspect and follow through with a hearing either. As for the noise level, the police do not enforce the noise ordinance. Within 1 mile of Ventura Boulevard, there are 10 restaurants which back up to the hillside where homes are above. Imagine the noise created by all of the restaurants playing different music outside. At the North Hollywood Police Department, if you call, you are told it is closed, or the wait time for anyone to answer can take 2 hours. After reviewing the draft ordinance, we cannot find where any stakeholder comments are included other than the restaurants. There were many objections to this draft ordinance, which must be considered and further studies presented. The SCNC final point is the by right legalization of the alfresco ordinance. This will allow a proprietor to skip the neighborhood councils and community impact. It makes no sense to us that permits, etc., will be required with no oversight from the affected areas. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to Council File 20-1074-S4. And it is brought by Scott Mandel, and we need a second.
I'll second.
Scott?
Thank you. That pretty much explains it. Public comment on this particular one, 1 minute. Goat?
Yes, you know, there's 2 letters in your packet. One from Tracy Park. And who is Tracy Park? Well, Tracy Park defeated Mike Bond's clone. Yes, she did. Too bad you didn't do the same thing here. So, of course, The Beautiful People, and that is a song recorded by Marilyn Manson. Some of you might know it. Believe in me, the beautiful people, the beautiful people. You know, when you were younger, you used to listen to that kind of good music. Now you listen to classical music. And of course, you know that the beautiful people do not want what the ghetto has. So this should be amended to have the following, that in an area where the median income is in the top 5%, there's not gonna be any alfresco partying, dining, and anything south of the 10 freeway, known as the ghetto, will be permitted. And I think we can cut through this red tape and just get to the heart of the matter. You don't like it because it's noisy, and neither does I, but go about it. That's well said, thank you, sir.
Mike, you have 1 minute?
Yes, I remember when they first closed down the alfresco dining in the county. Yes, old Sheila Kuehl, the one before Lindsay Horvath. And guess what she did that night? And Channel 11 had it. She was seen dining al fresco. As I said to her, yeah, there's one thing worse than a Jimmy Swagger, and that's a Jewish Jimmy Swagger. How hypocritical. Of course, that's why she decided not to run again, because people realized what a hypocrite old Zelda from Dobie Gillis turned out to be. And, hey, what's wrong with some form of outdoor dining? We've got good weather. Maybe we need to tweak it a little bit, but it's good weather. Other cities, Washington, New York, you can go eat on sidewalks in their restaurants. But here, we've got to cramp everybody inside. I don't know why. Let's find some kind of solution with people who can actually do it. And no salvage with Sheila Kuehl can be hypocritical.
Any other members from the public on this item? Any board comments or questions? Not seeing any, we can vote.
Yes.
Clement?
Yes.
Cutler? Yes. Gassionis?
Yes.
Hartwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Sheehan?
Yep.
Niederberg?
Yep.
Rittenberg?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Slaughter?
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Moving on to the Transportation Committee motions. The first one,
You've had a good night with government affairs, you wanna?
What's that?
You've had a good night with government affairs, I think you're like, what, 5 and 0? You screw up your average here.
so the first transportation motion is in tune with what Denise from CD2 was saying, but we still need to chime in and get in on the council file, so it is as follows. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 23-0306 for speed humps on Satsuma Avenue between Valley Spring Lane and Whipple Street, while Council President Paul Krikorian and the Los Angeles Department of Transportation are exploring a Whipple Street alternative. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to Council File 23-0306. And as Denise said, they are exploring that alternative, and this, we hope, is the icing on the cake to push that along.
Public comment on.
It's brought by Scott Mandel.
Oh,
sorry, I'm
second,
sorry.
my fault.
Second.
Thank you.
Who was that? Motion?
Secretary.
That was Chip?
Chip will second.
Chip, okay, thanks.
Jumped the gun. Goat, you have 1 minute on the Whipple speed bump.
You know what a big fan of street humps I am. And I'm down in the ghetto where I frequent the most, after the prostitutes. this is how it's made. We put street bumps in front of the school, over there in James M. Woods. Yes, the same street that Barry Martinez got caught with their illegal zoning teams. And you know what happened? People slowed down now. There's a lot less accidents east and west. But I have bad news. On the other side, north of Southwood, where there's no street bump, we've had an increase in accidents. Why is that? Well, it's because people go around the street and then they speed even more, which is good, because later on that means less of you and more of us animals. So I support street bumps, and I would like them on Ventura Boulevard as well. And then it can get you people to slow down. You need to slow down. Yes.
Any other public comment on this item? Mike?
Yes, good old Nithya Ramen Noodle. She missed that transportation committee meeting. I mean, she has no room to talk about transportation things. Unisys showed up. Heather Hutt showed up because it was her dog and pony show at 5001 Obama. And Princess Katie Yaroslavsky skipped shul and the boring sermon from her scab rabbi to help make a quote in a quorum. Of course, Nithya Ramen Noodle and Tracy Park Place didn't show up. Racist, they didn't want to go to a meeting in a Stroughton neighborhood. It was a dog and pony show anyway to have some like legislation. The solution, as I said there, write more tickets. Atlanta is an open ticket quota city because the union boss of the police union got caught saying it years ago, and I heard it on TV. So we know that there's ticket quotas, they're strictly enforced even though they don't exist. Well, it's time to actually be open about it and start writing more tickets. Thank you.
Not seeing any more hands from the public. Board? Nothing? Let's vote.
Yes.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Gassionis,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Ian,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yeah.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yeah.
Sawyer,
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
All right, motion B, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, requests Councilmember Nithya Raman and the Los Angeles Department of Transportation to install speed humps on Hoffman Street between Radford Avenue and Valley Heart Drive. And just so you all know where this particular street is, when you exit the Radford lot, and if you were to go like straight, which a lot of people do, even though it says left turn only, you're on Hoffman, and they get a lot of traffic coming off the lot onto Hoffman. So, and I think we have public here for this.
So this is brought by Chip.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
I need a
brought by
second.
Chip, and we need a second.
Second?
Who seconded, Jeff?
I didn't hear, okay.
It was Jeff.
And now we'll go to public comment. Priscilla, do you have any comment on this item?
know if I have anything left. Anyway, that is one thing I'm here to discuss. Yes, I live on Hoffman. It is frightening to see what the speeding is. I'm always screaming at them, please slow down. I happen to have a dog, so I'm out there often, and they are horrible, and it's frightening, and I know the whole neighborhood feels it. I've tried to make phone calls, but I am here relying on you as the neighborhood council to get those speed bumps in as quickly as possible. I'm sorry the other girl left because I think for Krikorian is who is in charge of that. It seems like it takes forever to get these done, but we are desperate on Hoffman right here. It's frightening to see, and I think most of the people are coming this way and that way right into Radford Studios, so it's pretty scary.
Thanks for that.
And everyone should know, this motion may not actually get immediate action because on this particular subject, the city has like an opening once a year in the fall where anyone or any neighborhood or individual can request to get on the list for a speed hump in their neighborhood. So we'll have the motion for you, which will certainly help, but you may not be able to get any action until that opening. But fortunately, I think the opening is in September, so we're not
So
too
is
far
that
off.
something you'll do, or is that something I have to do?
You would do, most, yeah, but we'll get you the info.
Public comment, additional public comment, go. Were you commenting on this item?
Yes, yes.
1 minute.
Yes, I was initially gonna oppose this, but after hearing this lady talking about my fellow animals, we don't wanna have them injured. So yes, I've changed my mind and I will support the speed bumps. You traitor. Yes, but I have to do it, I'm sorry. I'm not a yes puppet. I'm not a yes man. And you motorists, as I've been saying this entire meeting, need to slow down. Now, you can speed over an Inglewood, you have my permission to do that, but not here. Slow down when you get to the city limits. And I'm offering that as a friendly amendment. Thank you. Thank you.
Mike?
Yes, people don't know what a 30, 25, or 30 mile an hour speed limit is in a residential neighborhood. And with these high-performance cars, yeah, just hit the gas. It's unfortunate. Speed bumps do work. If not, you'll just have a front end that'll go out. You'll have a nice repair bill coming your way. As far as, I mean, I walk, and I don't walk with a cell phone, I'm walking those traffic. Because they're always, the vehicles are always in the crosswalk when I'm trying to walk. I sometimes have to yell, "Hey, pedestrian!" And maybe they'll move forward or they'll move back and I'll be able to cross. It's very dangerous. And just because they thought the Heather Dog and Pony Show for the bicyclists with more legislation, folks, it's more enforcement. We've got to have more enforcement on these things. And it takes about 3 years to get a speed bump, because I know someone who actually got one and he said it took 3 years.
Thank you, Speaker.
Board comment on this item? Kim has a comment.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to see the two back-to-back, because this board always seems to support speed humps, and so to oppose some on the prior motion was interesting. I am always against these speed humps. I'm all for safety. I don't think they're the answer. And I go over them in many areas that I go through on a regular basis, and they're just awful, even if you're going the right amount of speed. I mean, people are stupid and they drive fast and they drive badly. And I think that, we could make the argument, let's put speed humps on every road everywhere. That would not be practical, nor would that be a comfortable drive. It'd be like driving the drive I take to the west side every day with the potholes. So, I'm against this. This is not the answer, and I do think enforcement is. I think, I've seen police at many times at some of the stop signs in the area around me, and they're trying to catch them. I think that's a good idea, because suddenly once they do that a couple of times and people are getting tickets, they start paying attention. So that's one option, but speed humps, no, I'm never for them.
Well, if you see the children on the street playing and the dogs walking and the people.
But that's every street.
I
We
know,
need them on
but
every street.
Personally, I don't care about every street. I care about the street that I'm on, and the speeding that goes on this one quiet street is horrific. And I think you could have the whole neighbors, every one of them could come here and tell you this. I'm just trying to speak for them. And it's
I
frightening.
think we need more education. I think we need to push
Well,
for
we need all
people to
of
drive
those things,
differently.
But I don't
But
think
this-
that's ever gonna happen, because we need a lot of education. And we have no police ever out there at all, so,
I think if you
that's-
request, honestly, because I've seen them numerous times on several streets behind where I am, so that's worth an,
It's
look-see.
disappointing for me, because I see it every day.
I'm only one though here
Yeah,
on this
are
board.
there any other board comments about the speed humps on this particular street? Right.
Paul?
We can vote.
Bladen, yes.
Okay, comments?
No.
Pellet?
Yes.
Gussie, then,
Must be me, yes.
yes, thank you. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Oh, no.
Snow. And, Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
No.
no? Okay, and Slaughter,
Yes.
8-3-0, passes.
Okay, motion C, and I'm gonna just let you know, I'm taking out the words between Ventura Place and Hoffman Street. And the word between again, because I spoke with Mehmet at CD4's office and I'm just trying, he asked that this just be made simpler, and I think the way I'm gonna read it is. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, requests Councilmember Nithya Raman and the Los Angeles Department of Transportation to repair the pothole-ridden alley between Colfax Avenue and Valley Heart Drive. Repair to be made with an actual complete repaving of non-eroding durable cement and proper alley limit lines. This is brought by Chip Meehan. It needs a second.
Second.
Shaw.
Thanks, Drew. And just for some background on this, in 2004, when then CBS was developing the north side of the river here where there was nothing before, there was Little League Baseball where I played. They had to do like a conditional use permit essentially, and one of the things they had to do in being able to build the TV station and the other sound stages on that side of the river in 2004 was for the next 4 years until '08 when the TV station moved here, part of their requirements were to repave the alley. And that's the last time the alley right out here was repaved. And I don't know if anyone's driven on it now, but it's terrible. And Mehmet told me that alleys are like the last priority in terms of city funding right now. So what somebody has done recently where there are big holes, somebody that must be a contractor or something that has chunks of cement broken up from somewhere else has started dumping them in the holes. So you can kind of drive your tire can go over it without going down a foot, you know, it's still bumpy, but it's just very creative. And I pointed this out to Mehmet on a Zoom call yesterday, and he thought that was interesting that somebody was actually doing that. But it's that bad and the city hasn't fixed it, so. And he, by the way, said, well, when the studio here eventually 5 years from now gets permission to build some of what they want to build, it'll again probably be in their conditions that they have to repave that alley. So we want to wait 5 years? You know, that's ridiculous. So thus this motion.
Priscilla?
Okay, and this is also me, again, I'm fortunate to live right above the alley. And first of all, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for what you do for Studio City. I greatly appreciate it. I don't know if you've all seen the pictures. These are all pictures of this alley, both sides of what the alley looks like. Now, I will tell you, I was away for 2.5 weeks. I came back 3 or 4 maybe of the huge, really bad holes were fixed. I mean, they looked like somebody came in and did it. I don't know whether it's because whatever you all did, but I'm grateful. I want to give This is just a couple of signatures, well, actually, there are 10 signatures. I don't know, I'm gonna give it to you. This is from the businesses on Ventura Place and Ventura. I would have gotten more, but people weren't there that could sign it. I'll give it to you. I have a couple more if anybody cares to have them. I'm happy to pass them, and you can make copies if you want to have it. But again, it's a terrible problem, and these are all my photographs of all the mess that's out there. And it's on both sides, and it's frightening. And unfortunately, like myself and other people that live on Hoffman, our parking lots, we have to go out into the alley.
Yeah.
That's how we have to get out. And so I tried to make this as a commitment to myself to get this change. And I'm fortunate to be able to come here and asking people to help me. I don't know what more I can do by myself, because as you say, it takes forever. But I feel an emergency. And you have businesses on one side and you have homes on the other. And it's definitely a difficult situation. So I will hope that I'm happy to work with anybody that can help me get it done. I'm committed to doing something about it, but I need your help. And that's why I've been here all evening.
And the other hope is with the CD4 election primary in March, and then perhaps a runoff in June, the current occupant of the seat may be more willing to fix this problem. We shall see.
I mean, if they saw the pictures, I think they would see the problem.
But I guess you could say that's buying votes, but.
Anyway, I appreciate anything that can be done, and I will be happy to work with anybody that wants me as an assistant to get it happening. But I need your help, and I thank you.
Thanks for that, Goat. You want to talk about the alley?
Yes, and it's a good thing you brought up the reelection. Anybody but Nithya Raman Noodle, anybody. Vote for anybody but her, so that we get her packing so she can go back and raise her two little twin kids, who later in a few years will be talking back to their mommy, going,
I want a piercing. I want a boyfriend.
you know, she's gonna look forward to that treachery. That's what happens when you have kids. They're little assholes. But, again, the problem with alleys is you cannot use state and federal funds to repair an alley. What? That's right. So the only money you can use is off the books money. Or you can put chunks of concrete inside those holes. And I have a massive pile of them available for free. Thank you, Bill Puppet. Yes, it's only 67 miles away from your one way. Scott knows how to get out there. So yes, consider doing that as well.
Mike?
Maybe we can take those chunks and get some asphalt, I can fill a pothole in, and around the chunks, we can fill in part of the hole. Because, you see, they're not gonna do anything, and when they wanna do more expansion, don't just have a one-time shot on your conditional use permit to pave the alley. Think it has to be done every 2 years or something. Put something like that on there. Not a one and done, that's basketball stuff. So, in fact, when I got directed to your neutral gate, or whatever you call it, the main gate, from that other gate, I went down the alley. Boy, was that a bumpy ride, full of potholes. You could start right there, there's stuff to be done. I didn't even see any concrete chunks in there. Yeah, that's run in.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? We'll go to the board. By the way, nobody's exaggerating. That alley is in terrible shape. I actually have a video of it. I can show somebody if they, at another time. Chip?
But like so many of the streets that we have, the streets are actually designed for one level of volume and are functioning one or two levels up. That particular alley is used as, it's used as a street to avoid the Ventura problem, right? So from Radford over to Carpenter is people that don't want to, that are leaving the lot when there's work here, that don't want to go to Ventura, so they're cutting off there. There's very little through traffic. Although it can be done to come down from Laurel to come over Hoffman and go make that. So if that Laurel and Ventura intersection is really a mess, if there's an accident, you can actually get over here. This is used as a road. Between Carpenter and Colfax gets a whole bunch more traffic, and some of that traffic is pretty high speed. So it actually is serving as a service road for Ventura.
And the wear and tear on it is made worse by, we have 3 or 4 different restaurants that wash their kitchen floors, and the water is not, for some reason, not going into a floor drain. It's coming out the back door and into the alley swale, and then the asphalt next to the cement center is what goes first. And that is something that we're also looking into, those people being, they're breaking the law. You're not allowed to just wash a commercial floor and send it out into the alley. So that's what makes it deteriorate faster.
Was Mehmet open to the idea of using something besides just hot mopping the blacktop?
Well, that's why I said concrete.
Right, was he open to that idea?
He's open to it, but he said there's basically no money for anything.
Right.
Any other board comment?
A question.
Yeah, sure.
If its use is above the hot mopping, is it something that we can ask for more than just concrete? Can we ask for it to be rezoned or given a new name, or, you know what I mean? Like, can it be a street if it's being used as a street? Is that a dumb question? I'm sorry.
It's always gonna be an alley.
Okay.
But just asking for it to be redone in something durable is pretty much all we can do. But there is a place, and I can't remember where, there's somewhere in Studio City, it might be not the alley behind Arts, but the next block towards Witsit, where the alley is made out of concrete, and it's just, there's no wear and tear on it.
But there are phone poles, it's an alley, right? So there's big wooden phone poles there, and every so often you'll see a pile of someone's rearview mirror where someone's taking a mirror off going by. I mean, it's just.
Any other board?
To get around a pothole.
Questions or comments on this? None? Vote.
Glenn?
Yes.
Clements?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
Galsky,
Yes.
Hardwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niederberg?
Yeah.
Rittenberg?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Slaughter?
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Motion D, and just a little bit of background. We had appointees to both city and county task forces regarding where the bike path along the LA River was to be through Studio City. And that was always on the south side of the river, except around the studio here, where it would go up Radford and around the north side along the Tahunga Wash. But at Colfax, it would go back to the south side and continue along the south side all the way to Lankershim and hook up with the south side from which Universal Studios is going to eventually develop. And this council file came out with that not being the case. So I'll read it. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 23-0559 because the agreed upon alignment of the Los Angeles River Valley Bike Path is not on the south side of the river channel between Colfax Avenue and Lankershim Boulevard. And it is brought by Scott Mandel, and we need a second.
Second.
Thanks. Scott?
Thank you. Goat, did you want to talk on this one?
You wanna talk to us? Yes, I don't know anything about riding a bike, so
I'll have to defer to Scott, unfortunately, so make sure you don't make me look like.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Board,
Calling the question.
comments or questions? I'm sorry, I'm fading.
I think everybody's too tired.
Can I point out one other
Yeah.
quick thing? The other thing is, for sure, from Colfax to Tahunga, for 70 or 80 years, people have walked along there because it's not fenced off. They come in where Dilling hits the river and they can come up at Tahunga. It's walking by neighbors, even though it's dirt, they walk, which was one of the reasons that bike path was always gonna be on the south side. And the walking path, by and large, for 54 miles of the river, except around this property, is on, the walking path is on the north. Well, that's already been established as a walking path for 80 years. So why they chose to say they were gonna continue running the bike path along the north side from Colfax to Lancashire is just beyond all of us.
There's actually a map in the council file that shows the bike path, and as Barry was saying, it makes more sense for the bike path to be on the business side of the river and not the residential side. So that's what this is about. We kind of didn't understand why it didn't move the way Barry described. So, anyone have a question or a comment about that?
Call the vote.
Yeah, we'll vote.
Glenn?
Yes.
Clement?
Yes.
Keller?
Yes.
Gassionis?
Yes.
Hartwick?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes.
Meehan?
Yes.
Niederberg?
Yes.
Brittenberg?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Sly?
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Thanks. Motion E, the last motion that I have tonight. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council opposes Council File 22-0946 for speed tables on Tahunga Avenue between Woodbridge Street and Moore Park Street because no community outreach was done with the surrounding neighborhood. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to Council File 23-0946. And let me just, and this is brought by Chip Meehan. We need a second.
Second.
Second, Dean. Let me just. Richard, okay. Let me just mention that the speed tables are already in. Last August, Councilman Krikorian or someone in his office did a motion to put these speed tables in Tahunga Village. And literally, the council voted on it like 17 days later. I've never seen from motion to city council voting on something go so quick. There was no outreach to us, to the transportation committee or this board. And it was done quietly. And then one November morning, I'm driving there and there's two different, they call them speed tables now because we had explored ways of slowing down Tahunga Village traffic years ago, 15 years ago, but it ended up being the signal at first it was crosswalks at Woodbridge and then it became a full-on signal. And that, to me, that satisfied what we were trying to do between Woodbridge and Tahunga. One morning last November, I'm driving down, these have been installed. And it's like I'm thinking, they never asked us anything about this. And it was like the stealth motion from hell. And like I said, it went through in 17 days, just in looking back at the council file, if you do, you'll see how fast it was passed. And there may be nothing we can do about it now, but this is just to, more than anything, to express our displeasure that they did not contact the community or the neighborhood council on this. And they may be revisiting some of these with second thoughts. And by the way, 15 years ago when we asked for something, somebody then even asked for speed humps. But in that point in time, they said, well, speed hump, Tahunga's doesn't qualify for speed humps. It's a 35-mile-an-hour street. Well, now they've made speed tables, which are longer speed humps. So they call them tables. They're flatter. You can literally, you can't go 30, you wouldn't want to go 35 miles an hour over them, but you can probably go between 25 and 30 over them. But when I was talking to Denise about this, when I discovered this, and I said, what about this area of Studio City? 50% of the ambulances and fire trucks that come here are coming from Chandler and Tahunga. They're not necessarily coming from Vineland and Whipple, because that's a small station. When they barrel down Tahunga, they're now slowing down on those speed tables. And they really have to slow down because they're big vehicles. They didn't before, and I just don't think it's the right place for the speed tables. And the other thing is, now, because traffic is slowing, more people are jaywalking. Because they feel it's safer to jaywalk because the cars are being slowed. Well, that wasn't the reason for the speed humps, in my opinion, or speed tables. So, again, there's probably nothing we can do to get rid of them, but I think we should express our displeasure at not even being asked.
And the sign says speed humps.
Right, it's not, it should say speed.
Not speed
Because the
tables.
city, they're new and they haven't even made a sign that says speed tables yet, so.
We'll go to public comment now. Go. You want to talk about the speed tables on Tahunga?
Yes, those things are very dangerous for cars. And usually I like this, but after hearing about the emergency vehicle being fucked with, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to change my opinion on this opposition. You going with Kim? Yes, I might have to go with her on this vote this time, yes. And again, that's because I'm fair, and because I believe first and foremost that any of you that have a heart attack after looking at your bills and you need an ambulance, you should have a fair chance of getting it there within 20 minutes instead of the normal 35 minutes in Studio City. So I think it was a bad idea, and it's all Jessica Fulgate's problem. Remember, Jessica Fulgate is the one that destroyed the CD2 office. I think she's back in Baltimore now doing something else. What's she doing now? I think she's writing her memoirs. Yes, thank you so much.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Susan or Peter? No? Board comments, questions?
I will say that if I'm recalling Tahunga correctly, in the driving experience on Tahunga, the speed tables also elevate cars where there's the alfresco dining. So you now have the cars at a level where they, if somebody does want to speed through, they have literally more access to harm pedestrians. And that's been my experience driving. I'm not speeding at some crazy speed, but yeah. Safety of the people dining would be a concern for me.
So just remember, a yes vote on this means you're opposing the council file because no community outreach was done.
Yep.
Anybody else? Let's vote.
Why?
Yes.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Augustinos,
Yes.
Hardwick.
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Meehan,
Yep.
Niederberg,
Yes.
Rittenberg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Slaughter.
Yes.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Thanks, Barry.
Thanks.
I think we're at just about the end of this, so I'll be quick. This is now number 10, although it's listed as number 9. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the purchase of the following items needed to record our in-person meetings, up to a total of $615. Purchases to be made on Amazon or eBay contingent upon best price at the time of order. Prices are estimated and are up to that amount. We need a 128 megabyte SD card for that camera. I borrow someone else's SD card, which is in the camera right now. We don't have one. We need some XLR cables and adapters. These microphones have been turning off intermittently. It's a pain in the butt to set up. These cables are from many years ago, as are the microphones. Some need replacements. That's not our tripod. I have someone bring a tripod so I can mount the camera. We need our own tripod. The microphones need to all be replaced. I'd like to experiment with one recommended condenser microphone, and I'm getting help from a stakeholder who is a sound professional, sound engineer, mixer, and we will start off with one. Same thing for the feedback suppressor, DBX Pro or similar, and gaffer's tape, because the cables are just laying there. Now, there's one factor in play, which is Senate Bill 411. If it passes, depending on any more amendments, and if the city council approves it, and if the city council approves our neighborhood council to go virtual, and if this neighborhood council approves this neighborhood council to go virtual, there is a chance in the future that we will go virtual. However, until that day comes, and if it's all approved, we still have to record these meetings. And I just need a few items. I probably won't buy them all, but this is just a start, and it's only up to $615. I'm just gonna get the essentials. So I need a second.
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you. Goat, you wanna talk about the gear?
Yes, the 120 megabytes is a waste of time. You need a bigger card than that, so please amend that to a 256 gig card. Because you always want to have bigger cards. Bigger is better. I mean, it's gaffer's tape, well, that's, we don't use that kind of talk. That's professional. And of course, the person helping you is a big, big fan of Brandon Marino, and that's why he's doing this. Let's give Brandon a hand. Hey, yes, Brandon is the reason why they agreed to help, so thank you, wherever he is. So, we agree, the purchases are good, and remember, always overpay. That will make Mr. Krikorian very, very happy, because he likes it when you overpay using government money. What if he's using his money? Oh, that's different. You have to shop like regular humans. Yes, there. Yes, I like that tripod, by the way. Don't leave it here. Because somebody will take it if you did.
Mike?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Peter, did you have a comment on this item?
I'm sure they're lovely items.
Thank you very much. Board comments or questions? Yes.
The only thing that I would pose to your sound engineer friend or colleague is that the condenser mics tend to be much more fragile than these, which are dynamic mics. So they have a propensity to break much more easily.
Peter, is there a condenser mic that we can get that's not fragile?
The one we were talking about is not fragile. The reason for the condenser mics is these mics are meant to be used right up to your mouth. And a condenser, if you get a hypercardioid, it'll have more reach.
Exactly. But it's not fragile?
Yeah, these are like gooseneck.
Okay.
Gooseneck.
Okay.
They're reasonably solid.
Okay.
Drew, you look like you're gonna ask a question.
I am not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, let's vote. Is this one working? See, you have to you literally have to touch it with your lips.
Which is a grip. Yeah, you don't, the public doesn't. That's wild. Oh, yes.
Clemens,
Yes.
Cutler,
Yes.
Graciano.
Yes.
Hardwick.
Yes.
Mandel.
Yes.
And.
Yep.
Niederberg.
Yes, oh, sorry.
Rittenberg.
Gun, yes, Rittenberg, yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Clark.
Yep.
11-0-0, the motion passes.
Item 12, marked as 11, good of the order. Brief comments from board members on items not on the agenda. It's 10:53. Does anyone have a brief comment on something that's not on the agenda?
I think Nithya Raman's an asshole.
I have one, just quickly. I just hope some board members join me on the Burbank Airport flight path, noise and pollution. Thanks.
Dean? You think you were about to say something?
No.
Good night. Jeff?
I just want to say welcome to all the new board members.
Yes.
And the old ones too.
Trial by fire.
Thank you.
We traditionally go out of an abundance of caution. We will now go to public comment on that item since it's an agenda item. Go, did you have anything to say for 1 minute?
Yes, for the record, I want to second that comment about Nick. It's very, very good, yes, thank you for that.
Mike?
Oh, yes, Nithya Ramen Noodle, the one who played Cookie. Cookie, because she didn't want to go to a meeting in a Stoughton neighborhood. Thank God that Princess Katie skipped school that day, otherwise we would have had a wasted meeting. After all, she skipped it or scabbed Rabbi Synagogue.
Thank you for that. Absent any objections, 10:55. We are adjourning tonight's meeting. Thank you, everybody for attending.